Derek Ross scowls at the Trill refugee station's bustling docking bay. He's the only human willing to adopt these alien girls, and it's a decision he's already starting to regret. The station orbits Earth, a temporary home for thousands of spotted humanoids fleeing their destroyed world. Derek, a 45-year-old career administrator with a reputation for being difficult, strides through the crowded corridors. His new post as station administrator comes with challenges he never anticipated. A commotion near the adoption center catches his attention. 3 young Trill girls huddle together, the oldest, no more than 12, fiercely protective of her younger sisters. Derek overhears a conversation between 2 staff members. Those 3 again, one size. No one wants to take on a traumatized sibling group. If they're not adopted soon, we'll have to separate them, the other replies. Derek's jaw clenches. He approaches the staff, his voice gruff. What's their story? The workers explain. Parents killed during evacuation, repeatedly passed over for adoption, facing imminent separation. Derek's eyes narrow as he watches the oldest girl comfort her sisters. I'll take them, he declares, shocking himself as much as the staff. Word spreads quickly. Human volunteers and Trill refugees alike stare in disbelief as Derek leads the girls to his private quarters. He's painfully aware of his lack of childcare experience as he fumbles with the door controls. Inside, chaos erupts. The youngest girl, eyes wide with fear, refuses to speak. The middle child bursts into tears, while the oldest, Mina, glares at Derek with open hostility. Right, Derek mutters, running a hand through his thinning hair. You hungry? He rummages through his food stores, selecting items at random. As he sets plates before the girls, Mina knocks them away. You trying to poison us? She snarls. That's toxic to Trill. Derek blinks, realizing he knows nothing about Trill dietary needs. He taps his comm unit. Dr. Valdez to my quarters now. Minutes later, Elena Valdez, the station's chief medical officer, arrives. She takes in the scene with raised eyebrows. Administrator Ross, I didn't expect this. Derek grunts. Neither did I. What can these kids eat? As Elena tends to the girls, Derek receives an urgent message. A refugee ship is incoming, engines failing. He needs to coordinate the rescue immediately. I have to go, he tells Elena. Can you? She nods, understanding. I'll stay with them. But Derek, they need more than food. They need stability, compassion. Derek pauses at the door, looking back at the 3 frightened girls. I know, he says softly. I'm trying. As he rushes to the command center, Derek realizes his life has irrevocably changed. He's now responsible for not just a station full of refugees, but 3 traumatized alien children. The gruff administrator who keeps everyone at arm's length must now open his heart or risk failing these girls entirely. The station buzzes with the news. Derek Ross, the human everyone assumed was cold and uncaring, has taken in the unadoptable Trill sisters. As he works to save the incoming ship, Derek knows he faces an even greater challenge back in his quarters. He's their only hope for staying together, and despite his reservations, he's determined not to let them down. Derek's footsteps echoed through the corridor as he returned from the command center, exhaustion etched on his face. The rescue operation had been successful, but it left him drained. As he approached his quarters, he braced himself for the chaos that awaited him inside. The door slid open, revealing a scene he hadn't expected. Dr. Elena Valdez sat cross-legged on the floor. The 3 Trill girls huddled around her as she read from a datapad. The youngest, eyes wide with curiosity, nestled against Elena's side. Administrator Ross. Elena greeted him, her voice low. We've had a quiet evening. I've been introducing them to some Earth children stories. Derek nodded, unsure how to proceed. "Thank you, Doctor. I appreciate your help." As Elena stood to leave, she pulled Derek aside. "They need proper nutrition, Derek. Their bodies are different from ours. I've taken the liberty of sending you some information on Trill dietary requirements." Once alone with the girls, Derek accessed the files Elena had sent. He frowned at the complexity of Trill nutrition, realizing how woefully unprepared he was for this responsibility. Over the next few days, Derek found himself constantly juggling his duties as station administrator with his newfound role as guardian. He redirected some of his personal rations to ensure the girls had proper meals, a fact that didn't go unnoticed by his staff. "Sir, are you sure you don't want us to allocate more resources for your dependents?" his assistant asked hesitantly. Derek shook his head. "We're already stretched thin. I'll manage." Word of his actions spread through the station. Whispers followed him as he walked the corridors. The once feared administrator now viewed with a mix of curiosity and grudging respect. One afternoon, as Derek worked in his office, an alert flashed on his screen. A disturbance in the station's communal area. He arrived to find Mina, the eldest sister, cornered by a group of human children. "Freak," one boy taunted, pointing at Mina's spots. "Go back to your own planet." Derek's voice boomed across the room. "That's enough." The children scattered as Derek approached. He knelt beside Mina, who glared at him with a mixture of anger and embarrassment. "I didn't need your help," she muttered. "I know," Derek replied, surprising himself with the gentleness in his voice. "But you shouldn't have to face that alone." That evening, Derek drafted new anti-discrimination policies for the station. As he worked, he heard whimpers from the girls' sleeping area. Lyra, the middle sister, thrashed in her sleep, caught in the grip of a nightmare. Derek froze, unsure how to comfort her. He awkwardly patted her shoulder, which only seemed to distress her more. Frustrated with his inadequacy, he sought out Jax, a Trill counselor on the station. Jax's eyes crinkled with understanding as Derek explained the situation. "Nightmares are common among our children who witnessed the evacuation. Here, let me show you a technique we use." Derek spent the next hour learning Trill calming methods, feeling clumsy as he attempted to mimic Jax's graceful movements. When he returned to his quarters, he found Lyra still restless. Taking a deep breath, he began the series of gestures Jax had taught him, whispering soothing words in broken Trill. To his surprise, Lyra's breathing slowed, her features relaxing. As Derek continued the ritual, he noticed Mina watching him intently from her bed. Their eyes met, and for the first time, Derek saw a flicker of something other than hostility in her gaze. The following week brought a new challenge. A human couple, the Andersons, approached Derek about adopting Tala, the youngest sister. "We've always wanted a little girl," Mrs. Anderson gushed. "And she's just so adorable." Derek's face hardened. "I'm sorry, but the girls aren't available for individual adoption. They stay together." Mr. Anderson's face reddened. "Now see here, Ross. We're offering a good home to one of these orphans. You can't possibly think you're equipped to raise all three." "My decision is final," Derek stated, his tone brooking no argument. As the Andersons stormed off, Derek noticed the three sisters huddled nearby, having overheard the exchange. Mina stepped forward, her eyes searching Derek's face. "You're really keeping us together?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Derek nodded. "I made a commitment. I intend to honor it." That night, as Derek tended to a scrape Tala had gotten while playing, the youngest sister looked up at him with wide eyes. "Papa?" she said softly, the first word she'd spoken in weeks. Derek's hands froze, a whirlwind of emotions surging through him. He looked at Tala, then at her sisters, realizing with a start that somewhere along the way, these alien children had begun to feel like family. As he tucked them into bed that night, Derek received a message from Earth Central Command. They wanted to feature his story in a public campaign to improve human-trill relations. Derek stared at the screen, a sense of unease growing in his stomach. He glanced at the sleeping girls, knowing that his actions, meant to help them, had inadvertently thrust them into the spotlight. Derek sank into his chair, the weight of his new responsibilities pressing down on him. He had never intended to become a father figure, let alone a symbol of interspecies cooperation. As he contemplated the challenges ahead, he realized that his life had irrevocably changed, and there was no going back. Derek's unease about the Earth's Central Command's interest in his story grew over the following days. He found himself constantly looking over his shoulder, expecting scrutiny at every turn. His concerns were soon justified when he received a notification that Captain Marcus Harding would be arriving for a routine inspection of the station. On the morning of Captain Harding's arrival, Derek stood at attention in the docking bay, his uniform crisp and his expression neutral. As the airlock hissed open, a tall, stern-faced man with close-cropped gray hair stepped onto the station. "Administrator Ross," Captain Harding said, his voice clipped and formal. "I trust you're prepared for a thorough inspection of your facility." Derek nodded, keeping his tone professional. "Of course, Captain. We're ready when you are." As they began their tour, Derek couldn't help but notice the captain's critical gaze sweeping over every detail of the station. Harding's questions were pointed, probing into Derek's management decisions and the allocation of resources. "I see you've implemented some unconventional policies, Administrator," Harding remarked as they passed a group of Trill and human children playing together in a communal area. Derek straightened his shoulders. "Our situation here is unique, Captain. We've had to adapt to meet the needs of both our human staff and our Trill refugees." Harding's eyes narrowed. "And what of your personal involvement with those 3 Trill orphans? Is that not a conflict of interest?" Before Derek could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Red emergency lights bathed the corridor in an eerie glow as a computerized voice announced, "Warning, life support failure detected in Section 7. All personnel evacuate immediately." Derek's heart raced. Section 7 was primarily occupied by Trill refugees. Without hesitation, he turned to Captain Harding. "Sir, I need to coordinate the evacuation. You're welcome to observe or assist as you see fit." Not waiting for a response, Derek sprinted towards the affected area, tapping his communicator as he ran. "This is Administrator Ross. I need all available security personnel to Section 7 for emergency evacuation procedures. Medical teams on standby." As Derek approached Section 7, he was met with a scene of controlled chaos. Trill families streamed out of their quarters, fear evident on their spotted faces. Derek spotted Jax, the Trill counselor, attempting to calm a group of panicked children. "Jax," Derek called out, "I need you to help guide these families to the emergency shelters in Section 4. Can you handle that?" Jax nodded, his usually serene features set with commitment. "Of course, Administrator. We'll get them to safety." Derek turned to a human security officer nearby. "Peterson, I need a status report on the life support systems." "Sir, we've got a cascading failure in the environmental controls," Peterson reported. "Engineering teams are working on it, but they're having trouble interfacing with some of the Trill systems we integrated last month." Derek made a split-second decision. "I'm going in. We need to make sure everyone's out before the oxygen levels drop too low." As Derek led a team into the failing section, he couldn't help but worry about Mina, Lyra, and Tala. He knew they were in a different part of the station, but in the chaos of the evacuation, anything could happen. Inside Section 7, the air was already growing thin. Derek and his team moved swiftly, checking each room and guiding stragglers to safety. As they reached the final corridor, Derek heard a faint cry coming from behind a jammed door. "In here!" he shouted, pressing his shoulder against the unyielding metal. With the help of two security officers, they managed to force the door open, revealing a terrified Trill mother clutching an infant. Derek scooped up the child, while one of the officers supported the mother. "Let's move," he ordered, feeling the burn in his lungs as they raced back towards the airlock. As they emerged from Section 7, Derek was surprised to see Captain Harding coordinating with Dr. Elena Valdez, who had set up a triage area for affected refugees. "Administrator," Harding called out, his tone noticeably less severe. "Report." Derek handed the Trill infant to a waiting medical officer before addressing the captain. "Section 7 is clear. Sir engineering teams are still working on restoring life support." Elena approached, her medical scanner whirring. "Derek, you need oxygen. Your levels are dangerously low." As Derek waved off her concern, his communicator chirped. "Administrator Ross," came the voice of his assistant. "Sir, we have a situation. The 3 Trill girls. They're missing." Derek's blood ran cold. In the midst of the crisis, Mina, Lyra, and Tala had somehow slipped away. He looked at Captain Harding, whose expression had softened slightly. "Go," Harding said. "Find them. I'll oversee things here." Without another word, Derek sprinted off into the crowded corridors of the station, his heart pounding not just from exertion, but from a fear he'd never experienced before. Somewhere in this chaos were 3 girls who had become more important to him than he'd ever imagined possible, and he was determined to find them, no matter what it took. Time seemed to slow as Derek raced through the station's corridors, his mind filled with scenarios of where the girls might have gone. He skidded to a halt at a junction, his eyes scanning the area. "Mina, Lyra, Tala," he called out, his voice echoing off the metal walls. A flicker of movement caught his eye, and he spotted a small spotted hand disappearing around a corner. Derek sprinted after it, rounding the bend to find Tala huddled in an alcove, her eyes wide with fear. "Papa," she cried, reaching out for him. He scooped her up, holding her close. "It's okay, Tala. I've got you. Where are your sisters?" Tala pointed down the corridor. "Mina said we had to hide. She thought the bad people were coming to take us away." Derek's heart clenched at the thought of the girl's fear. He tapped his communicator. "This is Ross. I've found Tala, still searching for Mina and Lyra." As he continued his search, Derek's communicator chirped. "Administrator," Captain Harding's voice came through. "We received a priority transmission from Earth's Central Command. An Ambassador Jonathan Reeves is en route to the station. ETA 3 hours. Derek frowned. The timing couldn't be worse. "Understood, Captain. I'll be there to receive him once I've located the other girls." He quickened his pace, Tala still in his arms. They checked storage rooms, maintenance shafts, and even the hydroponics bay. Finally, in a rarely used observation deck, Derek found Mina and Lyra huddled behind a console. "Girls," he said softly, kneeling down to their level. "It's safe now. No one's going to take you away." Mina looked at him, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. "Promise?" Derek nodded solemnly. "I promise. We're in this together, remember?" As they made their way back to their quarters, Derek's mind raced. With Ambassador Reeves arriving soon, he knew he'd have to present a united front. The girls' integration into station life was now more crucial than ever. Hours later, Derek stood at attention in the docking bay, the decontamination cycle complete as the airlock hissed open. Ambassador Jonathan Reeves stepped onto the station, his crisp uniform and commanding presence immediately filling the space. "Administrator Ross," Reeves said, extending his hand. "I've heard a great deal about your work here." Derek shook the ambassador's hand firmly. "Welcome to the station, Ambassador. I trust your journey was comfortable." As they began their tour, Derek couldn't help but notice Reeves' sharp gaze taking in every detail. The ambassador's questions were probing, touching on resource allocation, integration policies, and the overall morale of both human and Trill populations. Their walk was interrupted by a commotion near the main promenade. A group of human and Trill children were engaged in what appeared to be a heated argument. Derek moved to intervene, but Reeves held up a hand, watching intently. To Derek's surprise, he saw Mina step forward, her voice calm but firm. "We're all stuck here together," she said to the group. "My sisters and I lost our home too, but Administrator Ross showed us that humans and Trill can be family. Why can't we all just get along?" The tension in the group visibly dissipated, with some of the children looking sheepish. Derek felt a surge of pride at Mina's words and actions. Ambassador Reeves raised an eyebrow. "Impressive. It seems your influence extends beyond mere policy-making, Administrator." Before Derek could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Red emergency lights bathed the corridor as a computerized voice announced, "Alert! Unidentified vessel approaching. All personnel to battle stations." Derek's communicator chirped urgently. "Sir," his security chief's voice came through, "we've got a Trill supply ship under attack by what appears to be the Void Reavers. They're demanding ransom for the ship and crew." Derek's mind raced, assessing the situation. He turned to Ambassador Reeves, whose expression had hardened. "Ambassador, I apologize, but I need to handle this crisis. Please feel free to observe our operations from the command center." Without waiting for a response, Derek sprinted towards the command center, his voice firm as he issued orders through his communicator. "I want a full tactical analysis of the situation. Prepare a volunteer task force for a potential rescue operation. And get me Dr. Valdez. We'll need her medical expertise if this goes sideways." As he entered the command center, the main view screen showed the Trill supply ship surrounded by the sleek, predatory vessels of the Void Reavers. Derek's eyes narrowed as he took in the scene, his military training kicking in as he began to formulate a plan. "Sir," one of his officers called out, "the Reavers are hailing us." Derek straightened his uniform, aware of Ambassador Reeves watching from the corner of the room. "On screen," he ordered, preparing to face the pirates and navigate the dangerous waters of interstellar diplomacy while protecting both his station and the vulnerable Trill ship. Supply ship. The tension in the command center was palpable as Derek took a deep breath and nodded to his communications officer. The view screen flickered to life, revealing the scarred face of a Void Reaver captain. His eyes gleamed with malice as he spoke. "Administrator Ross, how kind of you to join us. We have a simple proposition. Transfer 50,000 credits to our account, and we'll release the Trill ship. Refuse and, well, I'm sure you can imagine the consequences." Derek's mind raced, weighing his options. Before he could respond, an urgent alert sounded from the communications console. "Sir," the officer called out, "we're receiving a distress call from the SS Horizon, a Trill colony ship. They've suffered critical damage from an asteroid collision. Life support is failing, and they have over 500 refugees on board, including children." The gravity of the situation hit Derek like a physical blow. He turned to Ambassador Reeves, whose expression had shifted from stern observation to grim concern. "Ambassador, I'm afraid our tour will have to wait. We have a critical rescue operation to mount." Reeves nodded, his voice low. "Do what you must, Administrator. I'll observe and assist where I can." Derek sprang into action, his voice clear and commanding as he issued orders. "I want a joint human Trill rescue team assembled immediately. Dr. Valdez, prepare your medical staff for mass casualties. Engineering, I need every available shuttle prepped and ready for launch in 15 minutes. As the command center burst into a flurry of activity, Derek's communicator chirped. It was Mina, the eldest of the Trill sisters. "Administrator Ross," her voice came through, surprisingly steady. "I heard about the SS Horizon. I want to join the rescue mission. I know Trill ship systems better than any human on this station. Derek hesitated, torn between protecting Mina and recognizing the potential value of her expertise. After a moment's consideration, he made his decision. All right, Mina, report to Show Bay 2. But you follow my orders to the letter. Understood? Yes, sir, Mina replied, a hint of excitement in her voice. Within minutes, Derek found himself aboard the lead shuttle, surrounded by a mix of human and Trill crew members. Dr. Valdez sat beside him, running through final checks on her medical equipment. Mina was at the rear of the shuttle, her young face set with persistence. As they launched into space, Derek addressed the rescue team through the shuttle's intercom. The situation on the SS Horizon is critical. Our priority is to stabilize their life support and evacuate as many refugees as possible. This is not just about saving lives. It's about showing what humans and Trill can accomplish when we work together. The journey to the SS Horizon felt agonizingly long, despite their maximum warp speed. When they finally arrived, the sight that greeted them was heart-wrenching. The once sleek colony ship was now a battered hulk, venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. Team Alpha with me, Derek ordered as they docked with the stricken vessel. We'll work on stabilizing the core systems. Dr. Valdez, lead Team Beta and start the medical evacuation. Mina, stay close to me. As they entered the SS Horizon, the full extent of the damage became apparent. Emergency lighting flickered weakly, and the acrid smell of burning electronics filled the air. Derek led his team towards the ship's engineering section, navigating through debris-strewn corridors. They encountered their first major obstacle at a sealed bulkhead. The ship's computer refused to acknowledge their override codes. Derek turned to Mina. Any ideas? Mina stepped forward, her fingers dancing over the control panel. Trill ships have a secondary access protocol for emergencies, she explained, her brow furrowed in concentration. After a tense moment, the bulkhead hissed open. Well done, Derek said, giving Mina a nod of approval. As they progressed deeper into the ship, they came across pockets of survivors. Derek coordinated with Dr. Valdez's team to ensure their safe evacuation, all while racing against the clock to stabilize the ship's failing systems. In the engine room, Derek and his team worked feverishly to reroute power and seal off the worst of the hull breaches. Mina proved invaluable, her intimate knowledge of Trill technology allowing them to bypass damaged systems and restore partial power to key areas of the ship. Just as they thought they had the situation under control, a violent tremor shook the ship. Administrator, one of the engineers shouted, the structural integrity field is collapsing. We have minutes before the ship breaks apart. Derek's mind raced. They still had hundreds of refugees to evacuate. He tapped his communicator. All teams, this is Administrator Ross. We're initiating emergency evac procedures. Get everyone to the shuttles now. As they rushed back through the ship, herding survivors towards the escape routes, Derek's keen ears picked up the sound of children crying. Following the noise, he discovered a group of young Trill, trapped in a sealed compartment, their small faces pressed against a viewing port. Mina, can you get this door open? Derek asked, trying to keep his voice calm for the sake of the frightened children. Mina examined the door mechanism, her face falling. The controls are fried. We need to cut through, but that would take too long. Derek scanned the area, his military training kicking in. He spotted a narrow maintenance shaft running alongside the compartment. There, he pointed. If we can get someone through that shaft, they might be able to manually release the door from the inside. Mina's eyes lit up. I can do it. I'm small enough to fit. Derek hesitated, but another violent shudder of the ship made the decision for him. All right, but be careful. We don't have much time. As Mina squeezed into the maintenance shaft, Derek turned his attention to the trapped children. Drawing on his experiences with the Trill sisters, He pressed close to the viewing port. "Hey there," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "My name's Derek. We're going to get you out of there. But I need you to be brave for me. Can you do that?" The children nodded, their eyes wide with fear, but also a glimmer of hope. Derek kept talking to them, asking their names, telling them about the station they'd soon call home. Anything to keep their minds off the groaning of the dying ship around them. After what felt like an eternity, but was likely only a few minutes, the compartment door slid open with a hiss. Mina emerged, covered in grime, but grinning triumphantly. "Got it." Derek wasted no time. "All right, kids, let's move. Follow Mina and stay close together." They raced through the corridors, Derek bringing up the rear to ensure no one fell behind. They reached the show bay just as another violent tremor rocked the ship. "Everyone in now!" Derek shouted, practically lifting the smaller children into the waiting shuttle. As the last of the refugees boarded, Derek turned to Mina. "There's one more thing we need to do. The ship's computer core. It contains irreplaceable cultural and historical data. We can't let it be lost." Mina nodded, understanding the significance. Together, they sprinted back to the computer core, fingers flying over the controls as they initiated an emergency data transfer. The ship groaned and shuddered around them, but they didn't stop until the transfer was complete. With precious seconds to spare, they made it back to the shuttle. As they launched away from the SS Horizon, Derek watched through the view screen as the colony ship finally succumbed to its injuries, breaking apart in a silent explosion. The return journey to the station was tense, with shuttles packed beyond capacity and medical teams working frantically to stabilize the most critical patients. Derek moved from shuttle to shuttle, offering words of comfort and encouragement to the shell-shocked refugees. As they approached the station, Derek realized that their challenges were a long way to go. The sudden influx of refugees would strain their already limited resources to the breaking point. He tapped his communicator. "This is Administrator Ross to all station personnel. Prepare for emergency intake procedures. We're about to test the limits of our capacity and our compassion." The shuttles docked and the real work began. Derek found himself in the midst of controlled chaos, directing traffic, allocating resources, and making split-second decisions that would affect hundreds of lives. As he worked, he caught glimpses of the station's residents, both human and Trill, coming together in ways he had never seen before. Volunteers appeared from every section, offering food, blankets, and helping hands. The shared crisis seemed to be breaking down barriers that had long stood between the two species. Hours blurred into days as Derek worked tirelessly to manage the crisis. He implemented emergency rationing, reorganized living quarters, and coordinated with Ambassador Reeves to secure additional resources from neighboring systems. Through it all, Derek was acutely aware of the shifting dynamics on the station. The rescue operation had fostered a new level of understanding and cooperation between humans and Trill. He saw it in the way they worked side by side, in the friendships forming amidst the crisis, in the quiet moments of shared grief and hope. Mina's role in the rescue had not gone unnoticed. Derek observed with pride as she took on more responsibilities, not just in caring for her younger sisters, but in helping other Trill children adjust to their new lives on the station. As the immediate crisis began to subside, Derek found himself at a crossroads once again. The events of the past few days had given him a new perspective on his role at the station and his relationship with the Trill sisters. The impact he could make here, on the front lines of human-Trill relations, seemed far more significant than any high-level political position could offer. It was in this state of reflection that Ambassador Reeves approached him, a thoughtful expression on his face. "Administrator Ross," he began, "I believe it's time we discussed your future." Future on the station. Derek straightened, bracing himself for what he assumed would be a reprimand or worse. To his surprise, Reeves' expression softened. "What you've accomplished here, Ross, is nothing short of remarkable. the way humans and Trill came together during this crisis. It's unprecedented. I believe we have an opportunity here to create something truly extraordinary. Derek nodded, a mix of relief and persistence washing over him. I couldn't agree more, Ambassador, but we're facing some significant challenges. As if on cue, Derek's communicator chirped. Administrator, a strained voice came through. We're reaching critical levels in our food and medical supplies. We need to implement emergency rationing immediately. Derek's teeth gritted. He'd known this was coming, but the reality of it still hit him hard. Understood. I'll be there shortly. He turned back to Reeves. Ambassador, I'm afraid we'll have to continue this discussion later. Duty calls. Reeves nodded. Of course. I'll be here when you're ready. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity as Derek worked tirelessly to manage the station's dwindling resources. He implemented strict rationing measures, knowing they were necessary but hating the strain it put on an already stressed population. In an effort to address growing concerns and foster cooperation, Derek organized a joint human-Trill council. As he stood before the assembled group, he could feel the tension in the room. I know we're all feeling the pressure, Derek began, his voice steady. But I believe that by working together, we can find solutions that will benefit everyone on this station. As the council members began to voice their concerns, a Trill engineer named Zira stood up. Administrator Ross, if I may? At Derek's nod, she continued, I have a proposal that might help with our food shortage. Zira outlined a plan to expand the station's hydroponic gardens using a hybrid of human and Trill agricultural techniques. As she spoke, Derek could see the excitement building in the room. This could potentially double our food production within a month, Zira concluded. Derek didn't hesitate. Excellent work, Zira. I'm approving this project immediately. I want a team of our best human and Trill specialists on this right away. As the council meeting adjourned, Derek caught sight of Mina waiting outside. Her face lit up as she saw him. Derek, Administrator Ross. I heard about the new hydroponic project. I was wondering if I could help. Derek considered for a moment. He'd been wrestling with how to balance his duties as station administrator with his role as guardian to Mina and her sisters. This could be an opportunity for growth for all of them. Actually, Mina, I think that's a great idea. Your knowledge of Trill technology could be invaluable to the project. He paused, an idea forming. In fact, I think it's time we found ways for all three of you to contribute to the station. Over the next few days, Derek worked to integrate the Trill sisters into station life. Mina joined the engineering team working on a hydroponic expansion. Lyra, the middle sister, began helping in the makeshift school, teaching younger Trill children about their heritage. Tala, the youngest, started spending time in the medical bay with Dr. Valdez, her natural empathy helping to comfort other children during treatments. The sisters' involvement didn't go unnoticed. Derek observed with satisfaction as more humans began interacting with Trill refugees on a personal level, leading to a surge in cross-species friendships. However, not everyone was pleased with these developments. As Derek made his way to a meeting with Ambassador Reeves, he was intercepted by Security Chief Marcus Graves. Administrator, we need to talk, Graves said, his voice low and urgent. This integration is happening too fast. The refugees were supposed to be temporary, and now they're becoming a permanent fixture. It's putting too much strain on our resources, changing the very nature of the station. Derek met Graves' gaze steadily. I understand your concerns, Chief, but I believe this integration is not just necessary, it's vital for our future. We're creating something unique here, something that could change human-Trill relations forever. Before Graves could respond, Derek's communicator beeped. Administrator, a tense voice came through. We're receiving reports of increased Void Reaver activity in nearby sectors. They've stepped up attacks on supply ships and refugee transports. Derek's mind raced. The station was already stretched thin, and now this. He looked at Graves, seeing the challenge in the security chief's eyes. "Chief, I need you to put together a training program. We're going to create a joint human Trill security force." Graves' eyes widened. "Sir, you can't be serious. Arming the refugees is necessary for our survival." Derek cut him off. "This isn't up for debate, Chief. Make it happen." As Graves stalked off, clearly unhappy with the order, Derek's communicator chirped again. "Administrator Ross." A familiar voice came through. "This is Earth Central Command. We have some intelligence you need to hear. It's about the Void Reavers, and something much bigger." Derek felt a chill run down his spine. He had a feeling that whatever this information was, it was going to change everything. As he headed to his office to take the call, he steeled himself for what was to come. The challenges ahead would test not just him, but the entire station and the fragile alliance they were building. But as he thought of Mina, Lyra, and Tala, of the refugees they'd rescued, of the bonds forming between humans and Trill, he knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. Together, Derek took a deep breath, steeling himself for the conversation ahead. As he entered his office, he activated the secure communication channel. "Administrator Ross, this is Admiral Chun from Earth Central Command." A stern voice crackled through the speakers. "We've uncovered evidence of a conspiracy that goes far beyond the Void Reavers. We believe there's a coordinated effort to sabotage human-Trill relations." Derek's mind raced. "What kind of evidence, Admiral?" "Intercepted communications, suspicious financial transactions, and reports of high-level infiltration in both human and Trill governments. We need you to launch a covert investigation from your end. Your station's unique position makes it ideal for this operation." "Understood, Admiral. I'll assemble a team immediately," Derek replied, his mind already forming a plan. After the call ended, Derek wasted no time. He carefully selected his team. Dr. Elena Valdez, whose medical expertise and sharp mind would be invaluable. Jax, the Trill counselor whose insight into his own people could prove crucial. Security Chief Marcus Graves, despite his reservations about Trill integration. And Zira, the brilliant Trill engineer who had proposed the hydroponic garden expansion. Derek gathered them in a secure conference room, the air thick with tension as he briefed them on the situation. "What we're about to undertake is highly classified," he began, his voice low. "We're investigating a potential conspiracy that threatens everything we've built here." As Derek outlined the mission, he could see the mix of shock and tenacity on his team's faces. Graves shifted uncomfortably, his earlier objections to Trill integration clearly warring with his sense of duty. "I know this is a lot to take in," Derek continued, "but I need each of you to understand the gravity of what we're facing. We'll be implementing new security protocols immediately." Over the next few days, Derek and his team worked tirelessly to enhance the station's defenses while maintaining an air of normalcy. They increased patrols, upgraded sensor sweeps, and established a secure communication channel for the team. To avoid arousing suspicion, Derek created a cover story about routine maintenance checks on the station's outer hull. The investigation began in earnest, with the team poring over data from recent Void Reaver attacks. Dr. Valdez noticed a pattern in the pirates' targeting. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a series of charts. The Reavers seemed to have inside information about ship movements and cargo manifests. Jax leaned in, his spots furrowing as he concentrated. "That suggests a mole, either in the human or Trill administrative systems." As they delved deeper, encrypted communications began to surface, hinting at a shadowy organization called the Purity Front. Zira managed to decrypt part of a message, her eyes widening as she read it aloud. "They're talking about maintaining the purity of both species and preventing the dilution of our cultures." Derek felt a chill run down his spine. This purity front. They're extremists from both sides, aren't they? Trying to keep humans and Trill apart. Graves nodded grimly. And they've infiltrated both governments. This goes deeper than we thought. Their breakthrough came when Zira traced a series of encrypted communications to a nearby asteroid. I think this is their base of operations, she said, pointing to a blinking dot on the star map. Derek studied the map, his mind racing. We need to infiltrate that base, gather concrete evidence of this conspiracy. I'll lead the mission myself. Before he could leave, Derek needed to ensure the safety of Mina, Lyra, and Tala. He found Ambassador Reeves in his office, explaining the situation and entrusting the girls to his care. Reeves clasped Derek's shoulder. Be careful out there, Ross. We need you back here. Derek then sought out the sisters, finding them in the station's newly expanded hydroponic garden. As he explained that he would be away for a few days, he saw the concern in their eyes. Mina stepped forward, her voice steady despite her worry. We understand, Derek. Just come back safe, okay? Lyra and Tala nodded in agreement, their faces a mix of concern and pride. Derek hugged each of them, marveling at how much they'd grown and integrated into station life. With a heavy heart, Derek boarded the modified shuttle with Elena and Jax. As they detached from the station and set course for the asteroid, Derek couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. The shuttle glided silently through space, its stealth systems engaged to avoid detection. Derek's hands were steady on the controls, but his mind raced with the possibilities of what they might find. Suddenly, alarms blared. A cloaked ship materialized off their port bow, its weapons primed and ready. Void Reaver vessel, Jack shouted, his fingers flying over the tactical console. Derek's instincts kicked in. He banked the shuttle hard, narrowly avoiding a barrage of energy blasts. Hold on, he yelled as he executed a series of evasive maneuvers. The shuttle shuddered under the assault, systems failing as Derek pushed it to its limits. We're losing power, Elena called out, frantically trying to reroute energy to essential systems. With no other choice, Derek aimed for the asteroid surface. Brace for impact, he warned as they plummeted towards the rocky terrain. The shuttle hit hard, skidding across the asteroid's surface before coming to a stop in a cloud of dust and debris. As the air cleared, Derek assessed their situation. The shuttle was beyond repair, and their communications were jammed. Everyone okay? He asked, unbuckling his harness. Elena and Jax nodded, both looking shaken but determined. Derek helped them out of the wrecked shuttle, surveying the harsh landscape around them. We need to reach that base, Derek said, pointing towards a distant ridge. It's our only chance of completing the mission and getting off this rock. As they set off across the treacherous terrain, Derek couldn't help but think of the station, of Mina, Lyra, and Tala. He had to succeed, not just for them, but for the future of human-Trill relations. The asteroid's surface was a maze of jagged rocks and deep crevasses, each step a potential disaster. As they climbed a particularly steep incline, Elena pointed to something in the distance. Look there, she said, her voice hushed. Derek squinted, making out the outline of massive mining equipment. They're extracting something, he realized. But what? Jax knelt, examining a fragment of rock. This mineral. It's used in advanced weapon systems. Highly valuable and extremely rare. So that's how they're funding their operation, Derek mused. And probably creating discord between our species in the process. As they neared the base, Derek held up a hand, signaling for silence. Voices drifted towards them on the thin atmosphere. Carefully, they crept closer, taking cover behind a large boulder. Below them, a group of humans and Trill were engaged in a heated discussion. Derek strained to hear their words. The attack on the joint colony must proceed as planned, a human woman said, her voice cold. It's the only way to shatter this fragile peace. A Trill man nodded in agreement. Our agents are in place. When the dust settles, both sides will blame the other. Integration will become impossible. Derek exchanged a glance with Elena and Jax, seeing his own horror reflected in their eyes. They had to act, and fast. Change your plans, Derek whispered. We're going in hot. We need to warn the station and Earth Central Command about this attack. Without waiting for a response, Derek began to move, his team following close behind. They would have one chance to get this right, to send a warning that could prevent catastrophe. As they approached the base's perimeter, alarms began to blare. Their cover was blown. Derek broke into a run, heading for what he hoped was a communication center. There, Elena shouted, pointing to a large antenna array. Derek nodded, his breath coming in short gasps. That's our target. Elena, Jax, cover me. I'll send the transmission. As they sprinted towards the array, chaos erupted around them. Guards emerged from buildings, weapons drawn. Energy blasts scorched the ground at their feet. Derek's world narrowed to the communication console ahead of him. He could hear Elena and Jax returning fire, buying him the precious seconds he needed. He reached the console, his fingers flying over the unfamiliar controls. Come on, he muttered, desperately trying to establish a connection. Just as he thought he'd succeeded, a blast hit the console, sending sparks flying. Derek stumbled back, unsure if the message had gone through. Derek, Jax called out. We need to move. Derek looked up to see they were surrounded, Purity front forces closing in from all sides. As he raised his hands in surrender, Derek couldn't help but wonder, had their warning reached the station in time? And even if it had, would it be enough to stop what was coming? Back on the station, tension mounted as hours passed without word from Derek's team. Ambassador Reeves, now acting as interim administrator, found himself facing a barrage of questions from both human and Trill residents. In the midst of this uncertainty, an unexpected beacon of hope emerged. Mina, Lyra, and Tala, sensing the growing unrest, took it upon themselves to rally the station's children. Their simple act of unity, bringing together young humans and Trill in a show of support for Derek, began to ease the tensions that threatened to boil over. As Reeves watched the children's demonstration from his office window, a message alert flashed on his console. His heart raced as he recognized the encrypted signature. It was from Derek's team. But as he began to decrypt the fragmented transmission, Reeves realized that this was only the beginning of a much larger crisis. The fate of the station, the delicate human-Trill alliance, and Derek's team now hung in the balance. Whatever came next would test the strength of the bonds Derek had forged between the two species and determine the future of their shared existence. Destiny. As the children's demonstration continued outside, Ambassador Reeves turned his attention to the encrypted message flashing on his console. His fingers moved swiftly across the keys, decrypting the fragmented transmission from Derek's team. As the message slowly pieced itself together, Reeves' eyes widened with alarm. Computer, initiate emergency protocol Alpha 9. Summon all senior staff to the command center immediately, Reeves ordered, his voice tight with urgency. Within minutes, the command center buzzed with activity as Security Chief Marcus Graves, Zira, and other key personnel filed in. Reeves wasted no time in briefing them on the situation. We received a partial transmission from Commander Ross' team, Reeves began, his voice grave. The message is incomplete due to interference, but what we decrypted indicates an imminent attack on a joint human-Trill colony by a group calling themselves the Purity Front. A murmur of shock rippled through the assembled staff. Graves stepped forward, his brow furrowed. Ambassador, with all due respect, this could be a trap. We have no way to verify the authenticity of this message. Zira, the Trill engineer, interjected, her spots darkening with concern. But if it's true, we can't afford to ignore it. Lives are at stake. As the debate intensified, the door to the command center slid open unexpectedly. Mina, the eldest of the Trill sisters, slipped inside, her eyes wide with commitment. "I'm sorry for interrupting," she said, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. "But I overheard part of your discussion, and I think I can help." Reeves regarded her with surprise. "Mina, this is a restricted area." "I know," she interrupted, "but please hear me out. I recognize some of the communication protocols you mentioned. They're uniquely Trill, used only by our highest levels of government. If the message contains these, it's almost certainly genuine." The room fell silent as Mina's words sank in. Reeves exchanged glances with Graves and Zira, then nodded. "Show us, Mina." With Mina's insight, they were able to authenticate crucial parts of Derek's message. The reality of the situation began to set in. A devastating attack was imminent, and they were possibly the only ones who could stop it. Reeves made a swift decision. "We need to alert Earth Central Command and the Trill government immediately. Graves, start the protocols for an emergency communication." As Graves moved to comply, Reeves turned to address the room. "We're facing a crisis that threatens everything we've built here. The Purity Front seeks to destroy the peace between humans and Trill. We cannot let that happen." Hours passed as they waited for a response from their respective governments. The tension in the command center grew palpable as minutes ticked by without word. Finally, Graves spoke up, his voice imbued with frustration. "Ambassador, we're getting stonewalled. Both Earth Central and the Trill government are demanding more concrete evidence before they'll act. They're citing concerns about potential misinformation and the diplomatic ramifications of a false alarm." Reeves hit his fist on the console, an uncharacteristic display of emotion. "Damn it! We don't have time for bureaucratic red tape. Every minute we waste puts more lives at risk." Zira stepped forward, her eyes blazing with dedication. "We can't wait for official channels. We need to take action ourselves." Reeves nodded, a plan forming in his mind. "You're right. We'll send our own team to warn the colony. It's risky, but it's our only option." "I'll go," Dr. Elena Valdez said, stepping into the command center. She had been monitoring the situation from the medical bay. "I know Derek's team, and I have experience in crisis situations." Reeves considered her offer for a moment before nodding. "Assemble a small team, Dr. Valdez. Mix of humans and Trill. We need to show unity in the face of this threat." As Elena left to prepare for the mission, alarms blared throughout the station. Graves' console lit up with multiple alerts. "Sir, we have a problem. Word of the potential attack has leaked to the general population. We're seeing signs of panic and isolated incidents of violence." Reeves closed his eyes briefly, taking a deep breath. When he opened them, his gaze was steely with determination. "Patch me through to the station-wide comm system. It's time to address our people." As Reeves began his speech, calling for unity and cooperation in the face of adversity, the newly formed team led by Dr. Valdez raced to prepare for their desperate mission. In the docking bay, they boarded a high-speed shuttle, the weight of their responsibility evident on each face. As the shuttle's engines roared to life, Elena looked at her team, a mix of humans and Trill, all volunteers, all committed to saving lives and preserving the fragile peace between their species. "Ready?" she asked, her hand hovering over the launch controls. The team nodded in unison, and Elena engaged the engines. The shuttle shot out of the docking bay, streaking into the vastness of space. Their mission: to reach the joint colony before the Purity Front could strike, to warn them of the impending danger, and hopefully to save countless lives. As the shuttle disappeared into the distance, Reeves watched from the command center viewport. The fate of human-trill relations now rested on the shoulders of Derek's team, trapped on a hostile asteroid, and Elena's team, racing against time to prevent a catastrophe. The next few hours would determine the future of both species, and Reeves could only hope they had done enough to avert disaster. Disaster that would tear apart everything they had worked so hard to build. As Reeves continued his address to the station, urging calm and unity, Derek's shuttle found itself in a precarious situation. The asteroid's defenses had been more formidable than anticipated, and now they were fleeing into space with damaged systems and dwindling power. "We're losing engine stability," Jax reported, his fingers dancing over the controls. "I don't think we can outrun them." Derek gritted his teeth, scanning the vast expanse of space around them. The Void Reaver fleet loomed behind, closing in fast. "Keep us moving. We just need to stay ahead long enough to transmit the rest of our data." Suddenly, the shuttle rocked violently as weapons fire erupted from multiple directions. Derek's heart sank as he realized they were surrounded. The Void Reavers had outmaneuvered them, cutting off all possible escape routes. "We're out of options," Elena said, her voice tight with tension. "We can't fight our way out of this." Just as Derek was about to order them to prepare for boarding, a new volley of weapons fire lit up the space around them. For a moment, he thought it was the end, but then he realized the shots weren't aimed at them. A small, sleek vessel emerged from behind a nearby asteroid, its guns blazing with pinpoint accuracy. It weaved through the Void Reaver formation, drawing their fire and creating chaos in their ranks. "This is Captain Lyra Vex to the human shuttle." A voice crackled over their comm system. "Looks like you could use a hand. Follow my lead, and I'll get you out of here." Derek exchanged quick glances with his team before responding. "Copy that, Captain Vex. We're right behind you." With the Void Reavers momentarily distracted by Captain Vex's surprise attack, Derek seized the opportunity. He pushed the shuttle's damaged engines to their limits, aiming for a gap in the pirate formation. "Hold on," Derek called out as he executed a series of evasive maneuvers. The shuttle groaned and shuddered under the strain, but miraculously held together as they weaved through debris and weapons fire. Just as they thought they might break free, a critical hit rocked the shuttle. Alarms blared as systems failed across the board. "We've lost engine control," Jax shouted over the cacophony. "We're in a spin." Derek fought with the controls, but it was useless. The shuttle tumbled through space, completely at the mercy of inertia and the looming threat of the Void Reavers. In that moment of desperation, Captain Vex's ship appeared alongside them. A tractor beam shot out, enveloping their craft and stabilizing it. "I've got you," Vex's voice came through, strained but determined. "But we're not out of this yet." The Void Reavers, regrouping after the initial surprise, closed in for the kill. Derek watched helplessly as the pirate ship surrounded them, weapons charged and ready to fire. Suddenly, a massive wave of energy washed over the battlefield. The Void Reaver ships went dark, their systems overloaded by what Derek recognized as an electromagnetic pulse. "What just happened?" Elena asked, her eyes wide with disbelief. Before Derek could respond, Captain Vex's voice filled the shuttle once more. "I don't know where that came from, but I'm not waiting to find out. I'm bringing you into my hangar. Prepare for docking." As Vex's ship towed them to safety, Derek's mind raced. The coordinated EMP attack, the precision required to hit the Void Reavers without affecting their own ships, it all pointed to one place. Once safely aboard Vex's vessel, Derek wasted no time. He made his way to the bridge, where he found the captain, a statuesque Trill woman with intricate spots running down her neck and a look of fierce drive in her eyes. "Captain Vex," Derek began, "I need to contact the refugee station immediately. I believe they're the ones who just saved our lives, and they need to know what we've discovered." Vex nodded, gesturing to a communications panel. "Be my guest, Commander. And while you're at it, Perhaps you can fill me in on why the Void Reavers were so interested in your little expedition." As Derek established a connection with the station, he quickly briefed Vex on the Purity Front's plans. Her expression grew grave as she realized the implications. "Ambassador Reeves," Derek said as soon as the connection was established, "we have critical intelligence about the Purity Front's next move. They're planning an attack on a joint human-Trill colony." Reeves' holographic image flickered with concern. "We received your partial transmission, Derek. We've already dispatched a team led by Dr. Valdez to warn the colony." Derek felt a mix of relief and urgency. "That's good, but we need to do more. The Purity Front's network is far more extensive than we initially believed. We need to convince both Earth Central Command and the Trill government to take immediate action." "Agreed," Reeves replied. "Get back here as quickly as you can. We'll need your first-hand account to sway the authorities." As the communication ended, Derek turned to Captain Vex. "How fast can this ship go?" Vex's lips curved into a confident smile. "Faster than you might think, Commander. Strap in. We're about to push these engines to their limit." As Vex's ship accelerated towards the station, Derek couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. The collaboration between humans and Trill had already saved lives today. Now, it was up to them to ensure it would save many more. The refugee station grew larger in the view screen as they approached. Derek knew that the next few hours would be crucial. They had the information. They had the proof of the Purity Front's intentions, but would it be enough? As Captain Vex's ship prepared to dock, Derek steeled himself for the challenges ahead. The future of human-Trill relations hung in the balance, and time was running out. The fate of both species now rested in their hands. As Vex's ship approached the refugee station, Derek's heart raced with anticipation. The station loomed large in the view screen, but something was off. The usual bustle of incoming and outgoing vessels was absent, replaced by an eerie stillness. "Captain, are you seeing this?" Derek asked, leaning forward in his seat. Vex nodded, her brow furrowed. "Sensor readings show heightened energy signatures. Their defense systems are at maximum." The comm system crackled to life. "Unidentified vessel. This is refugee station security. Identify yourself and state your purpose immediately." Derek exchanged a quick glance with Vex before responding. "This is Commander Derek Reeves, returning from mission with critical intelligence. Request immediate docking clearance." A tense moment passed before the reply came. "Confirm, Commander. Proceed to Docking Bay 7. Security teams will meet you there." As they maneuvered towards the assigned bay, Derek noticed the station's weapon arrays tracking their approach. The gravity of the situation hit him anew. Ambassador Reeves had clearly taken his warning seriously. The ship touched down with a gentle thud. As the airlock hissed open, Derek and his team were met by a squad of heavily armed security officers, a mix of humans and Trill working in seamless coordination. "Welcome back, Commander," a gruff voice called out. Security Chief Marcus Graves stepped forward, his expression grim. "The ambassador is waiting. Follow me." As they were escorted through the station's corridors, Derek noticed a heightened state of alert. Crew members moved with purpose, and additional security checkpoints had been established at key junctions. They arrived at a secure briefing room where Ambassador Reeves and Zira were waiting. The ambassador's face was etched with concern, but his eyes lit up at the sight of Derek and his team. "Derek, thank goodness you're back," Reeves said, clasping Derek's shoulder. "What did you find?" Derek took a deep breath and began his report. He detailed their infiltration of the asteroid base, the data they'd uncovered, and their harrowing escape. As he spoke, he could see the color draining from Reeves' face. "It's worse than we thought," Derek concluded. "The Purity Front has infiltrated both human and Trill governments at the highest levels. They're not just planning an attack on the joint colony. They're aiming to destabilize our entire alliance." Derek produced a data chip and handed it to Zira. This contains names, dates, planned operations, everything we could grab before we had to run. Zira quickly inserted the chip into a secure terminal, and the room's holographic display came to life with a web of connections and information. The group fell silent as they absorbed the magnitude of the conspiracy before them. Security Chief Graves was the first to break the silence. With all due respect, Ambassador, we need to act on this immediately. Every minute we wait puts more lives at risk. Reeves nodded, his heart made. Agreed. I'll initiate emergency protocols and contact Earth Central Command and the Trill Governing Council. He turned to his comm officer. Set up a secure channel, highest priority. As the team waited for the communication to be established, Derek's mind raced. They had the information, but would it be enough? And more importantly, would they act in time? The holographic display flickered, and the faces of high-ranking officials from both Earth and Trill appeared. Reeves began his briefing, his voice steady despite the urgency of the situation. Minutes ticked by, feeling like hours. Derek watched as expressions of disbelief, anger, and fear played across the faces of the officials. Questions were asked, clarifications demanded. Through it all, Reeves remained calm, presenting the evidence with unwavering conviction. But as the briefing concluded, Derek's heart sank. The response was not what they had hoped for. "We appreciate the gravity of your report, Ambassador," the Earth Central representative said, her tone maddeningly measured. "But we need time to verify this information through our own channels. We cannot risk acting on potentially faulty intelligence." The Trill Council member nodded in agreement. The diplomatic ramifications of a false alarm would be catastrophic. We must proceed with caution. As the transmission ended, a heavy silence fell over the room. Derek could feel the frustration radiating from every person present. "We can't wait for them," Derek said, breaking the silence. All eyes turned to him. "Ambassador, with your permission, I propose we use the station's resources to mount our own defensive operation." Graves raised an eyebrow. "Are you suggesting we go rogue, Commander?" "I'm suggesting we do what's necessary to save lives," Derek replied, his voice firm. "We have the information, we have the skills, and we have people from both species willing to work together. We can't sit idle while bureaucrats debate." Reeves stroked his chin, considering Derek's words. After a moment, he nodded. "You're right. We can't afford to wait. Chief Graves, begin mobilizing our security forces. Zira, I need you to work on extending our sensor range. We need every advantage we can get." As the room burst into action, Derek felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were taking a risk, but it was one they had to take. The fate of the colony, and perhaps the entire human-Trill alliance, now rested on their shoulders. Derek turned to Captain Vex, who had been observing silently. "Captain, we could use your expertise. Your knowledge of independent trade routes could give us a tactical advantage." Vex's eyes gleamed with a mix of excitement and dedication. "Count me in, Commander. My ship and I are at your disposal." As preparations began in earnest, Derek's thoughts turned to the Trill sisters, Mina, Lyra, and Tala. He knew the dangers that lay ahead, and he couldn't risk their safety. "Ambassador," Derek said, pulling Reeves aside, "we need to move the girls to a secure area. It's not safe for them to be in the thick of this." Reeves nodded, understanding the weight of Derek's decision. "I'll see to it personally." Just as Derek was about to join Graves in coordinating the security teams, Zira's voice cut through the bustle of activity. "Ambassador, long-range sensors are picking up a large fleet approaching from Earth's direction." The room fell silent as all eyes turned to the main display. A cluster of dots appeared, moving steadily towards their position. "Is it the Purity Front?" Graves asked, his hand instinctively moving to his weapon. Zira shook her head, her fingers flying over the console. "No, It's an Earth Central Command task force, led by the ECS Horizon. Derek's breath caught in his throat. The Horizon was one of Earth's most formidable warships, its mere presence often enough to deter conflicts. Reeves' expression was a mix of relief and concern. The Horizon. That means Admiral Helena Reeves is in command. Derek turned to the ambassador, recognizing the name. Your sister? Reeves nodded. Yes, and she's not known for her patience or diplomacy. If she's here, Earth Central must be taking the threat seriously. But her presence could also complicate things. Derek understood the implication. A show of force from Earth could be seen as an act of aggression by the Trill, potentially escalating the situation beyond control. I'll go, Derek said, straightening his uniform. I'll board the Horizon and brief Admiral Reeves personally. We need to ensure she understands the delicacy of the situation. Reeves clasped Derek's shoulder, his eyes conveying both gratitude and concern. Good luck, Derek. The fate of our alliance may well rest on your ability to convince my sister of the need for restraint. As Derek made his way to the docking bay where a shuttle waited to take him to the Horizon, he felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He had faced many challenges in his career, but none quite like this. The shuttle departed the station, carrying Derek towards the imposing silhouette of the ECS Horizon. As he approached, he mentally prepared himself for the crucial conversation ahead. The next few moments would determine not just the fate of the joint human-Trill colony, but potentially the future of interspecies relations throughout the galaxy. The shuttle docked smoothly with the Horizon, and Derek was immediately escorted to the bridge. As the doors slid open, he found himself face-to-face with Admiral Helena Reeves and her senior staff. The Admiral's piercing gaze met his, and Derek knew that the Real challenge was about to begin. Derek straightened his uniform and took a deep breath as he stepped onto the bridge of the ECS Horizon. The atmosphere was tense, filled with the quiet hum of advanced equipment and the focused energy of a crew on high alert. Admiral Helena Reeves stood at the center of the bridge, her steel-gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, her piercing eyes fixed on Derek as he approached. The resemblance to her brother was clear, but where Ambassador Reeves exuded diplomacy, the Admiral radiated authority. Commander Reeves, she said, her voice crisp and commanding. I trust you have a good reason for this unorthodox meeting. Derek nodded, meeting her gaze. Admiral, I have critical intelligence regarding an imminent threat to the joint human-Trill colony. Over the next few minutes, Derek laid out the information they had gathered about the Purity Front's plans. He detailed their infiltration of the asteroid base, the data they'd uncovered, and the extent of the organization's reach into both human and Trill governments. As he spoke, he could see the Admiral's expression shifting from skepticism to concern. Her brow furrowed as Derek revealed the names of high-ranking officials suspected of being Purity Front sympathizers. This is troubling, to say the least, Admiral Reeves said, her voice low. She turned to her senior staff. Verify these claims immediately. I want every piece of this intelligence corroborated. Derek pressed on, aware that time was of the essence. Admiral, we believe an attack on the colony is imminent. Standard military protocols may not be sufficient to address this threat. We need a joint human-Trill defense strategy. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. You're asking me to deviate from established Earth Central Command directives based on intelligence that hasn't been fully verified? With all due respect, Admiral, Derek replied, his voice steady. By the time we go through all the official channels, it may be too late. The Purity Front has already demonstrated their willingness to act. We need to move now. A tense silence fell over the bridge as Admiral Reeves considered Derek's words. After what seemed like an eternity, she nodded. Very well, Commander. I'll support your plan for a joint defense of the colony. But understand this. My fleet remains under my operational control. Derek felt a wave of relief wash over him. Understood, Admiral. Thank you. I recommend we integrate Trill tactics and technology into our strategy. Their expertise could give us a crucial edge. As the Admiral began issuing orders to prepare the fleet for immediate deployment, an urgent communication came through from the refugee station. Ambassador Reeves' holographic image appeared, his face etched with worry. Derek, Helena, he said, addressing both of them. Our long-range sensors have detected multiple ships approaching the colony. The Purity Front attack, it's happening now. Derek's heart raced as he processed the information. They were out of time. Admiral Reeves wasted no time. All ships set course for the colony, maximum speed. As the fleet prepared to depart, Derek realized with a sinking feeling that they might not make it in time. His mind raced, searching for alternatives. Suddenly, an idea struck him. Admiral, he said, turning to Helena, the refugee station. We recently upgraded its propulsion systems using a combination of human and Trill technology. If we move the entire station closer to the colony, we could extend our sensor range and potentially use its defenses to protect the colonists until your fleet arrives. The Admiral's eyes widened slightly, a mix of surprise and grudging admiration in her expression. You're proposing to move a civilian station into a potential combat zone? Derek nodded grimly. It's a risk, but it might be our best chance to save the colony. After a moment of consideration, Admiral Reeves made her decision. Do it. I'll dispatch an escort to protect the station during transit. She fixed Derek with a stern look. But understand the gravity of this decision, Commander. You're responsible for the lives on that station. Derek swallowed hard, feeling the weight of that responsibility. Understood, Admiral. As he prepared to return to the refugee station, Derek's mind was already racing with plans. They would need to organize a defense force, prepare the station for faster-than-light travel, and coordinate with Captain Vex for navigation. The coming hours would test the limits of human-Trill cooperation, pushing both species to their limits. As Derek boarded the shuttle back to the station, he knew that the real challenge was just beginning. The fate of the colony, the station, and perhaps the entire alliance now hung in the balance. Balance hung in the air as Derek rushed back to the refugee station. The shuttle docked smoothly, and he sprinted towards the command center, his mind racing with plans and strategies. As he burst through the doors, he found the command center a hive of frantic activity. Ambassador Reeves was coordinating with the station's crew, while Zira's fingers flew over the control panels, preparing the station for its unprecedented journey. Status report, Derek demanded, striding to the central console. We're ready to move, Commander, Zira responded, her voice taut with tension. But I must warn you, we're pushing the station beyond its design limits. There's no guarantee all systems will hold. Derek nodded grimly. Understood. We have no choice. Initiate transit sequence. The station shuddered as its newly upgraded propulsion systems roared to life. Through the viewport, Derek watched as stars blurred into streaks of light. They were on their way to the colony, racing against time and the Purity Front's approaching fleet. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the command center. Multiple ships detected. Zira shouted over the cacophony. It's the Purity Front. They've reached the colony. Derek's heart sank, but he steeled himself for what was to come. Battle stations. All hands, prepare for combat. As the refugee station dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the colony, the scene that greeted them was one of chaos. Purity Front ships swarmed around the colony, their weapons blazing against the meager defenses. Engage the enemy, Derek ordered. Concentrate fire on their lead ships. The station's hybrid human-Trill weapon systems came to life, lancing out with beams of energy that sliced through the void of space. Several Purity Front ships erupted into fireballs as the station's first salvo found its mark. In the heat of battle, Derek noticed Mina working feverishly alongside Dr. Elena Valdez at a nearby console. "Commander," Mina called out, "I've identified a weakness in their formation. If we use our sensor array to target their lead ship's propulsion systems, we might be able to disrupt their coordination." Derek considered the suggestion for a split second before nodding. "Do it. Weapons team, implement Mina's targeting solution." As the station's weapons adjusted their aim, Derek's attention was drawn to another console where Captain Lyra Vek's face appeared on the screen. "Commander, my ship is conducting rescue operations for the colony vessels," she reported, her image shaking as her ship dodged enemy fire. "We're using every trick in the book to keep these civilians safe." "Good work, Captain," Derek replied. "Keep those people alive?" The battle raged on, with the station's defenses holding firm against the Purity Front's onslaught. But as the minutes ticked by, Derek could see the strain beginning to show. Systems throughout the station began to falter under the relentless assault. Lower decks reporting life support failures. Marcus Graves' voice crackled over the comm. "We're being boarded, Commander." Derek made a split-second decision. Evacuate non-essential personnel to the station's core. "Chief Graves, take a team and repel those boarders." As the battle intensified, Derek watched in awe as human and Trill crew members worked in perfect synchronization. In the medical bay, Dr. Valdez and her team were performing miracles, combining human and Trill techniques to save lives that would have been lost otherwise. Ambassador Reeves maintained a steady stream of communication with the approaching Earth Central Command fleet, coordinating their arrival and relaying tactical information. "The Trill ships have agreed to join forces with the human fleet," he reported, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. But hope was in short supply as the station's situation grew increasingly dire. Zira's voice cut through the chaos, her usual calm replaced by urgent concern. "Commander, we can't take much more of this. Our shields are failing, and weapon systems are overheating." Derek's mind raced, searching for a solution. An idea struck him, risky but potentially game-changing. "Zira, reroute power from the artificial gravity systems to the shields and weapons." Her eyes widened in surprise. "But, sir, that would leave us in zero-gravity conditions in the middle of a battle." "It's a risk we have to take," Derek replied firmly. "Do it." As the gravity faded away, the station's inhabitants found themselves floating, forced to adapt to the new conditions even as they fought for their lives. Derek watched as Zira worked tirelessly, her hair floating around her face as she improvised repairs using both human and Trill components. Just when it seemed they couldn't hold out any longer, a cheer went up in the command center. "Earth Central Command Fleet detected," Zira announced, her voice filled with relief. The powerful warships of Admiral Reeves' fleet burst onto the scene, their weapons blazing. The Purity Front forces, caught between the hammer of the Earth fleet and the anvil of the refugee station, began a fighting retreat. But even as victory seemed within reach, Derek's tactical display showed a significant portion of the Purity Front fleet breaking away, making a desperate push towards the colony. "They're going to destroy the colony," Derek realized aloud, his voice grim. "They want to erase all evidence of their attack." With the Earth fleet engaged in pursuit of the retreating Purity Front ships, Derek knew that the battered refugee station was the only thing standing between the breakaway group and the defenseless colony. "All hands," Derek called out, his voice firm despite the weightlessness and the chaos around him. "Prepare to intercept the Purity Front breakaway group. We're the colony's last line of defense." As the refugee station moved to engage, Derek surveyed the command center. The crew, human and Trill alike, looked back at him with dedication in their eyes, ready to face whatever came next. The station's engines flared to life, propelling them towards their final confrontation with the Purity Front. Derek gripped the edge of his console, steadying himself in the zero-gravity environment, his eyes fixed on the approaching enemy ships. This was it, the moment that would decide the fate of the colony, the future of human-trill relations, and the lives of everyone aboard the station. As the distance closed between them and the Purity Front ships, Derek took a deep breath, preparing to give the order that would commit them to this final, desperate stand. Battle. All weapons. Focus fire on the lead ships. Derek commanded, his voice carrying over the din of alarms and shouted orders. Divert all remaining power to forward shields and weapon systems. The station's energy reserve surged into its offensive capabilities, leaving other areas vulnerable but maximizing their firepower. The gamble paid off as the first volley tore through the Purity Front's vanguard, turning 3 ships into expanding balls of plasma and debris. But the enemy's superior numbers quickly became apparent as they swarmed around the station, their weapons finding weak points in the overtaxed shields. Multiple explosions rocked the structure, and Derek felt the deck lurch beneath his feet. Hull breach on deck 7 through 9. Zira shouted, her fingers flying over her console. Emergency force fields are holding, but barely. Derek's comm crackled to life. Commander, we've got borders. Marcus Graves' voice was strained, punctuated by the sound of weapon fire. They're exploiting the breaches. We need backup. Understood, Chief, Derek responded, his mind racing. I'm sending a security detail your way. Hold them off as long as you can. As Derek coordinated the station's defenses, Mina's voice cut through the chaos. Commander, I've identified a pattern in their attack formation. If we target their lead ship's communications array, we can disrupt their coordination. Derek nodded sharply. Do it. Weapons. Implement Mina's targeting solution. The station's remaining operational weapons adjusted their aim, concentrating fire on the designated weak point. The lead Purity Front ship's communications array erupted in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. Almost immediately, the enemy's formations began to falter, their movements becoming disjointed and uncoordinated. A small victory, but Derek knew they were far from safe. The station groaned under the continued assault, and new alarms blared from Zira's station. Life support systems are failing, she announced, her usual calm demeanor cracking under the strain. We're losing power faster than I can reroute it. Derek's mind raced, searching for a solution. Can we draw power from anywhere else? Zira's eyes widened as an idea struck her. The artificial gravity systems. If we shut them down, we could boost life support, but... Do it, Derek ordered without hesitation. Better to fight in 0G than suffocate. As Zira input the commands, Derek felt the familiar pull of gravity disappear. Objects not secure began to float, and crew members who weren't strapped in found themselves drifting away from their stations. All hands adapt to zero-gravity conditions. Derek called out, pushing off from his console to stabilize himself. Continue defensive operations. The weightless environment added a surreal quality to the battle. In the corridors, security teams led by Marcus Graves engaged in bizarre, floating firefights with Purity Front boarding parties. Shots from energy weapons created brief, brilliant flashes in the darkness, illuminating the strange ballet of combat in microgravity. A new voice crackled over the comm system. Commander, this is Captain Vex. I've completed the colony's ship evacuation, and I'm returning to assist. Derek felt a surge of relief. Glad to have you back, Captain. We could use the help with point defense. These fighters are giving us hell. Understood, Commander. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. True to her word, Captain Vex's ship darted and weaved through the swarm of enemy fighters with impossible agility. Her intimate knowledge of both human and Trill ship designs allowed her to predict and counter the enemy's moves with remarkable efficiency. As the battle raged on, Derek received a transmission from Ambassador Reeves. Derek, I've just received word from the Trill fleet. Admiral Zaraven is requesting permission to join our defense. Derek's heart leaped. This was unprecedented. Trill ships joining a human battle. Permission granted, Ambassador. Let's make history. Within moments, the sleek shapes of Trill warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their advanced weaponry tearing into the Purity front's flank. The tide of battle began to turn, but Derek knew the fight was just getting started. A new alert flashed on his tactical display, and his blood ran cold. A significant portion of the Purity front fleet had broken away, making a final, desperate push towards the colony. "They're going for the colony," Derek shouted. "We don't have the firepower to stop them." As he watched the enemy ships bearing down on the defenseless colonists, an idea struck him. Dangerous, perhaps suicidal, but their only chance. "All hands," Derek called out, his voice steady despite the weightlessness and chaos around him. "Prepare to maneuver the station. We're going to use it as a shield for the colony." The crew looked at him with a mix of shock and drive. They understood the risk, but also the necessity. "Zira, can we move the station into position?" Derek asked. The Trill engineer's fingers danced over her console, performing rapid calculations. "Barely, Commander, but structural integrity is already critical in multiple sections. This maneuver could tear us apart." Derek nodded grimly. "It's a risk we have to take." "Begin the maneuver. All non-essential personnel, evacuate to the most secure areas of the station." As the massive structure began to move, groaning and shuddering under the strain, Derek turned to the Trill sisters, Mina, Lyra, and Tala. "You should go with the others," he said. Mina shook her head firmly. "We're staying, Commander. Our place is here." Derek felt a surge of pride and gratitude as he looked at his crew, human and Trill, united in their willpower to protect the innocent lives below. The Purity front ships, realizing the station's intent, concentrated their fire on the approaching structure. Entire sections began to break apart under the assault, but still they pressed on. "Shields are gone," Zira shouted over the sound of tearing metal. Hull integrity failing in multiple sectors. Derek gripped his console, watching as the distance closed between the station and the attacking ships. They just needed to hold on a little longer. Suddenly, new contacts appeared on the tactical display. Admiral Reeves' Earth fleet and Admiral Ven's Trill ships had arrived, catching the Purity front in a devastating crossfire. As the combined fleet engaged the enemy, Derek allowed himself a moment of hope. They had done it. The colony was safe. But as he looked around at the devastation, entire sections of the station exposed to space, casualties mounting, he knew that their victory had come at a terrible cost. And as the adrenaline of battle began to fade, he realized that the real challenge was just beginning. The work of rebuilding, not just the station, but the trust between humans and Trill, lay ahead. As rescue ships began to approach and damage reports flooded in, Derek took a deep breath, steadying himself in the zero-gravity environment. There would be time for reflection later. For now, there were lives to save and a station to salvage. "All right," he said, addressing his weary but determined crew. "Let's get to work." Work. Derek's voice was steady, but the exhaustion was evident in his eyes. As the immediate danger passed, the true extent of the damage became apparent. The station groaned and creaked, entire sections exposed to the vacuum of space. Emergency klaxons blared throughout the structure, their urgent wails a constant reminder of the precarious situation. Derek pushed off from his console, floating towards the main view screen. The image it displayed was sobering. The station's once proud silhouette, now jagged and broken, debris fields spreading outward like a halo of destruction. "Zira, status report," he called out, his voice cutting through the cacophony of alarms and shouted orders. The Trill engineer's fingers danced across her console, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's bad, Commander," she replied, her usual calm demeanor strained. "We've lost entire sections to space. Life support is critical in multiple areas." We need to start evacuating non-essential personnel immediately. Derek nodded grimly. Make it happen. Coordinate with security to ensure an orderly evacuation. As Zira set to work, Derek's calm crackled to life. Commander, this is Admiral Reeves. We've established a defensive perimeter around the station and the colony. How can we assist? Admiral, we need immediate medical support and damage control teams, Derek responded, his mind racing through priorities. We have multiple hull breaches and casualties beyond our capacity to handle. Understood, Commander. We're dispatching support ships now. Admiral Ven's Trill fleet is also moving to assist. As the words left the Admiral's mouth, Derek saw the sleek forms of Earth and Trill ships approaching on the console. The sight of the two fleets working in tandem filled him with a mix of pride and hope. Security Chief Graves, report. Derek called out, switching comm channels. Marcus's voice came through, punctuated by the sound of tearing metal. We're conducting sweeps for survivors. Sir, it's chaos down here. We've also uncovered evidence of Purity Front infiltrators, requesting permission to conduct a station-wide security sweep. Granted, Derek replied, his eyes sharpening at the news. But prioritize rescue operations. We can't let anyone else die today. As he ended the communication, Derek noticed Dr. Elena Valdez enter the command center, her medical uniform stained with blood and worse. Commander, she said, her voice hoarse, we need to start transferring critical patients to the support ships. We're overwhelmed here. Derek nodded. Coordinate with Zira on the evacuations. Your expertise in both human and Trill medicine will be crucial. Save as many as you can doctor. As Valdez left to begin the transfers, Derek turned his attention to the Trill sisters Mina, Lyra, and Tala. The girls floated near a damaged console, their young faces a mixture of exhaustion and shock. You three, he said softly, pushing off to float closer to them. I need you to go with the next evacuation group. You've done more than enough already. Mina, the eldest, shook her head. We want to stay and help, Commander. This is our home, too. Derek felt a surge of pride at their resilience, but he knew they needed care. I understand, but right now, the best way you can help is by staying safe. I promise we'll talk more once things settle down. As the girls reluctantly agreed, Derek's comm chirped again. This time, it was Ambassador Reeves. Derek, I'm drafting a report for Earth Central Command and the Trill Governing Council. Your actions today may have just changed the course of human-Trill relations. Before Derek could respond, a new alert flashed on the main view screen. Captain Lyra Vex's ship was requesting permission to dock. Permission granted, Derek called out, watching as the skilled pilot maneuvered her ship through the debris field. Minutes later, Lyra entered the command center, her eyes widening at the destruction around her. I came as soon as I could, she said, pushing off a damaged bulkhead to float towards Derek. What do you need? Derek was about to respond when Zira's voice cut through the chaos. Commander, I've completed my initial assessment. The damage, it's extensive. We can make partial repairs, but the station will never be fully operational again. The weight of her words hung in the air, adding to the already oppressive atmosphere. Derek looked around at his crew, human and Trill alike. Their faces a mixture of exhaustion, perseverance, and uncertainty. He took a deep breath, steadying himself in the zero-gravity environment. The immediate crisis might be over, but the real challenges were just beginning. The future of the refugee community, the station's role in human-Trill relations, the lingering threat of the Purity Front. All these issues and more would need to be addressed. But as Derek looked at the diverse group of individuals working together in the shattered remains of the command center, he felt a glimmer of hope. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious. Whatever came next, they would face it together. All right, he said. his voice carrying across the command center. "Let's get to work on those repairs. We've got a long road ahead of us, but we've proven what we can accomplish when we work together. Zira, start prioritizing critical systems. Lyra, I need you to coordinate with the incoming support ships. Let's show them what this station is made of." As the crew sprang into action with renewed purpose, Derek allowed himself a moment to gaze out at the stars beyond the shattered view screen. The battle was over, but a new chapter in human-trill relations was just beginning. And he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them head-on, united in their shared vision of a future where humans and Trill could stand together as equals. Allies. The immediate crisis had passed, but the real work was just beginning. Days after the battle, Derek found himself preparing for a crucial council meeting. He had organized this gathering to bring together key figures from both human and Trill societies, aiming to chart a course forward in the aftermath of the Purity Front attack. As he entered the makeshift conference room, one of the few areas of the station still intact, Derek took in the assembly before him. Admiral Helena Reeves sat at the head of the table, her stern features softened by the hint of a smile. Beside her, Admiral Zarven of the Trill Fleet cut an imposing figure, her spotted skin accentuating her alien beauty. Ambassador Reeves, looking more haggard than usual, nodded to Derek as he took his seat. "Commander," Admiral Reeves began, "your actions during the recent crisis were nothing short of exemplary. You've given us a unique opportunity to strengthen human-Trill relations." Derek inclined his head in acknowledgement, acutely aware of the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. "Thank you, Admiral, but we still face significant challenges." As if on cue, Admiral Reeves' expression hardened. "Indeed, we received intelligence reports indicating that Purity Front cells are regrouping in distant sectors." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The battle might have been won, but the war was just the beginning. Derek leaned forward, his mind racing. "We need a joint task force," he said, his voice firm. "A specialized unit combining the best operatives from both species. It's the only way to effectively root out these extremist elements." Admiral Ven's eyes lit up at the suggestion. "An intriguing proposal, Commander. Such a unit could prove invaluable in combating threats to both our peoples." Ambassador Reeves cleared his throat. "Perhaps we could take this a step further," he suggested. "What if we established a permanent joint command structure to oversee all interspecies operations?" The idea sparked animated discussion around the table. Derek watched as human and Trill representatives alike began to see the potential in such an arrangement. Suddenly, an urgent beeping cut through the debate. A communications officer burst into the room, her face pale. "Sirs, we've just received a distress signal from Novice Prime. They're reporting an outbreak of a mysterious illness affecting both humans and Trill." Derek's heart raced. Novice Prime, a remote human colony known for its groundbreaking work in xenobiology. If something had gone wrong there, without hesitation, Derek stood. "I volunteer to lead a joint medical and security team to Novice Prime," he announced. "This could be our first test of true human-Trill cooperation." Admiral Reeves and Admiral Ven exchanged a look, then nodded in unison. "Approved, Commander," Reeves said. "Assemble your team immediately." The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. Derek worked closely with Dr. Elena Valdez to put together a medical team, her expertise in combining human and Trill techniques proving invaluable. Security Chief Marcus Graves took charge of assembling a mixed security detail, ensuring they were prepared for any eventuality. As Derek oversaw the preparations, he found himself facing an unexpected dilemma. Mina, the eldest of the Trill sisters, approached him with a determined look in her eyes. "Commander," she said, her voice steady despite her youth, "we want to come with you to Novice Prime. We can help." Derek hesitated, torn between his protective instincts and the recognition of their potential. After a moment's consideration, he made a decision. Mina, you can join us as a junior technical assistant. Lyra and Tala will remain here under the care of our staff. The girl's face lit up with a mixture of excitement and responsibility. Thank you, Commander. I won't let you down. As the day of departure approached, Derek received an unexpected visitor. Captain Lyra Vex entered his makeshift office, her presence as commanding as ever. Commander, she said, a hint of a smile on her lips, I've accepted a position as liaison between human and Trill military forces. I'd like to join your mission to Novice Prime as an observer. Derek nodded, grateful for her experience and unique perspective. Welcome aboard, Captain. Just as final preparations were underway, another complication arose. Reports came in of increased Void Reaver activity in the sector containing Novice Prime. Derek quickly adjusted the mission parameters, incorporating defensive strategies and requesting additional escort ships from both human and Trill fleets. On the eve of their departure, Derek made a final inspection of the HSS Unity, the state-of-the-art vessel that would carry them to Novice Prime. As he walked through the corridors, he observed human and Trill crew members working side by side, their earlier mistrust replaced by a shared sense of purpose. Standing on the bridge, Derek gazed out at the stars, his mind on the challenges that lay ahead. The mysterious illness on Novice Prime, the lingering threat of the Purity Front, the delicate balance of human-Trill relations, all of it rested on the success of this mission. As the order was given to depart, Derek felt a subtle shift as the Unity entered faster-than-light travel. They were on their way to Novice Prime, unaware of the true nature of the crisis that awaited them or the carefully laid trap they were heading into. As the Unity emerged from faster-than-light travel, the serene beauty of Novice Prime filled the view screen. The planet's swirling blue-green atmosphere seemed peaceful from a distance, betraying nothing of the crisis unfolding on its surface. Derek stood on the bridge, his posture tense as he studied the readouts before him. Something's not right, he muttered, leaning in closer to the display. Zira, run a full spectral analysis of the planet's atmosphere. The Trill science officer's fingers flew over her console. Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures emanating from the surface. They don't match any known natural phenomena. Derek's eyes narrowed. Initiate full biocontainment protocols. Dr. Valdez, prepare your team for immediate deployment upon arrival. As the Unity entered orbit, the true extent of the crisis became apparent. The main settlement, visible even from space, was a scene of chaos. Plumes of smoke rose from several districts, and the usually bustling spaceport lay eerily still. Attempts to establish communication with the colony's leadership have failed, sir, reported the communications officer, her voice tight with concern. Derek made a swift decision. I'll lead an advance team to the surface. Dr. Valdez, Chief Graves, you're with me. Captain Vex, I need you to pilot the shuttle. As they boarded the shuttle, Derek felt a tug on his sleeve. He turned to see Mina, her young face set with tenacity. I'm coming too, Commander. I can help with the equipment. Derek hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Stay close to Dr. Valdez at all times. The descent through Novice Prime's atmosphere was far from smooth. The shuttle bucked and shuddered, caught in violent air currents that seemed to defy natural weather patterns. These turbulences are artificial, Lyra called out, her hands dancing across the controls. The colony's weather control systems must be malfunctioning. As they neared the ground, Derek caught his first up-close glimpse of the devastation. Bodies lay strewn across the streets, both human and Trill, showing no visible signs of injury, but clearly incapacitated. The moment the shuttle touched down, Derek's team sprang into action. Dr. Valdez, start triage immediately. Chief Graves, establish a secure perimeter. As they moved deeper into the settlement, they encountered pockets of resistance. Colonists, apparently immune to the illness but driven to a state of paranoid frenzy, charged at the team with makeshift weapons. Non-lethal force only, Derek ordered as Chief Graves raised his weapon. The security team deployed stun grenades and energy nets, subduing the attackers without causing permanent harm. Amidst the chaos, Mina's voice cut through the din. "Commander, I'm picking up traces of an unknown compound in the atmosphere. It's not natural to this planet." Derek's mind raced, piecing together the implications. "It's airborne. Dr. Valdez, adjust your protocols. We're dealing with an engineered pathogen." He tapped his communicator. "Unity, this is Derek. Deploy atmospheric scrubbers to the colony immediately. Captain Vex, I need you to conduct high-altitude scans. Look for any facilities that could be the source of this contaminant." As Dr. Valdez worked to stabilize the afflicted colonists, she made a chilling discovery. "Commander, this isn't a random outbreak. The pathogen is targeting specific genetic markers common to both humans and Trill. This is a deliberate attack." Before Derek could respond, Chief Graves returned from his sweep of the administrative buildings. "Sir, we've uncovered evidence of a recent data breach in the central computer system. The intrusion originated from a facility in the northern polar region." Derek's lips pursed. The situation had just become far more complex than a simple medical emergency. He knew he had to make a difficult choice. "Dr. Valdez, you and half the medical team stay here and continue treatment. I'm taking a strike force to investigate that northern facility. Chief Graves, Captain Vex, you're with me." As they prepared for the journey north, an urgent transmission came through from the Unity. "Commander, multiple unidentified vessels have just entered the system. They're using advanced stealth technology. It bears hallmarks of both Void Reaver and Purity Front design." Derek's mind raced, formulating a new strategy on the fly. "Unity, engage those hostile forces. Buy us time to locate and neutralize the source of this bioweapon." He paused, then added, "Send an encrypted message to Earth Central Command and the Trill Governing Council. Request immediate reinforcements." As the sounds of orbital combat echoed in the distance, Derek led his strike force towards the northern facility. They battled through harsh terrain, exacerbated by malfunctioning climate control systems that sent ice storms and heat waves sweeping across their path. Automated defense systems, a disturbing hybrid of human and Trill technologies, emerged from hidden bunkers to assault them. Derek's team used their mixed expertise to overcome each obstacle, their seamless cooperation a stark contrast to the twisted collaboration behind the attack. Finally, they crested a ridge and caught sight of their target, a heavily fortified structure built into the side of a mountain. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter, bearing insignias that confirmed Derek's worst fears. This was a major Purity Front base. As they observed the facility, planning their next move, Derek realized the true scale of what they faced. This wasn't just about saving Novice Prime. The outcome of this mission could reshape the future of human-Trill relations and determine the course of their fight against extremism. With time running out and countless lives hanging in the balance, Derek turned to his team. "We need to get inside that facility, neutralize the bioweapon, and gather every piece of intel we can find. Failure is not an option." As they began to formulate their infiltration plan, the mountain facility's massive blast doors began to open, revealing a sight that made even the battle-hardened team pause in shock. Shock! A massive, sleek vessel emerged, its hull adorned with a chilling fusion of Void Reaver and Purity Front insignias. Derek's team instinctively took cover as the ship's engines roared to life, kicking up a blizzard of snow and ice. "We need to move now," Derek shouted over the deafening noise. "That ship can't be allowed to escape with whatever's on board." As the team sprinted towards the facility, Derek activated his comm link. "Unity, we have a situation. A hybrid Void Reaver Purity Front vessel is attempting to launch." Intercept if possible, but do not let it leave the system. The response came back garbled with interference. Understood. Engaging. Be advised. Heavy fire. Derek gritted his teeth, knowing the Unity and its support ships were already stretched thin dealing with the orbital battle. They were on their own. The strike force reached the outer perimeter just as the facility's automated defenses came online. Laser turrets emerged from hidden compartments in the ice, tracking their movements with deadly precision. Graves, Vex, suppressing fire. Derek ordered, diving behind a jagged ice formation. We need to find a way inside before that ship takes off. As energy bolts sizzled past, melting the surrounding ice into steam, Derek spotted a maintenance hatch partially concealed by snow drifts. He gestured to Mina, who had insisted on joining the ground team. Can you get us through that? The young Trill's eyes lit up with commitment. She pulled out a compact device, fingers flying over its surface. On it, Commander. While the rest of the team provided covering fire, Mina worked feverishly to bypass the hatch's security. Sweat beaded on her forehead despite the frigid air, her breath coming in short, focused gasps. Got it, she exclaimed as the hatch slid open with a hiss. Derek nodded approvingly. Everyone inside now. The team piled through the narrow opening, finding themselves in a dimly lit maintenance tunnel. The sounds of battle outside became muffled, replaced by the low hum of machinery. Activate stealth protocols, Derek whispered, engaging his own cloaking device. The air shimmered around each team member as Trill and human stealth technology merged, rendering them nearly invisible. They moved swiftly through the winding passageways, relying on Graves' expert guidance to avoid tripping hidden alarms. As they penetrated deeper into the complex, the distant rumble of the ship's engines grew more pronounced. Rounding a corner, they encountered their first line of human resistance. A squad of Purity Front guards patrolled an intersection, their weapons at the ready. Derek signaled for the team to hold position. Using hand gestures, he outlined a plan of attack. On his mark, they sprang into action. Captain Vex moved with fluid grace, disarming two guards before they could even register her presence. Graves employed a series of precise strikes, incapacitating his targets without lethal force. Derek himself engaged the squad leader, their hand-to-hand combat a blur of strikes and counters. In a matter of seconds, the Purity Front soldiers lay unconscious at their feet. Impressive, Vex remarked, a hint of admiration in her voice. Your human combat techniques complement our Trill martial arts well. Derek allowed himself a small smile. Let's hope it's enough to stop whatever's about to launch in that ship. As they approached the main hangar, a familiar voice called out from a shadowy alcove. Commander Von Hoff, over here. Derek tensed, weapon raised, before recognizing the figure. Dr. Voss? We thought you were missing. The Trill xenobiologist emerged, her usually immaculate appearance disheveled. I've been investigating this facility for weeks. Come quickly, I can get you inside the hangar. With Dr. Voss's help, the team bypassed the hangar's security measures and slipped inside. The sight that greeted them was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The massive ship dominated the cavernous space, its engines pulsing with almost unchecked energy. Purity Front operatives scurried about, making final preparations for launch. Through the open cargo bay, Derek caught glimpses of ominous cylinders, likely containing the engineered pathogen. We need to shut this down, Derek said, his voice low and intense. Dr. Voss, can you access their systems from here? The xenobiologist nodded, already moving towards a nearby console. I'll do what I can, but we don't have much time. As Dr. Voss worked, Derek divided his team. Graves, Vex, secure that cargo bay. We can't let those cylinders leave the planet. Mina, stay with Dr. Voss and assist her. I'm going to find a control room and stop this launch. The team split up, each group moving with purposeful stealth towards their objectives. Derek made his way through the hangar's upper levels, avoiding patrols and using his enhanced strength to climb where necessary. He reached the control room, just as alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Through the reinforced windows, he saw his team engaged in firefights on the hangar floor. The ship's engines roared louder, preparing for imminent takeoff. Derek knew he had only moments to act. He forced his way into the control room, surprising the Purity Front operators inside. As he fought to reach the main console, he caught sight of a familiar face on one of the monitors, the leader of the Purity Front, orchestrating this operation from afar. With a surge of adrenaline, Derek incapacitated the last guard and lunged for the controls. His fingers flew across the unfamiliar interface, searching for a way to abort the launch and seal the hangar doors. The ship began to lift off, its massive bulk rising ominously from the hangar floor. Derek's team scrambled for cover as debris and equipment were sucked into the engine wash. Time seemed to slow as Derek's gaze darted between the rising ship and the complex array of controls before him. He had one chance to stop this. One chance to prevent a catastrophe that could shatter the fragile peace between humans and Trill. His hand hovered over the final command sequence, the fate of two species hanging in the balance. Balance. With a deep breath, Derek punched in the final sequence. The hangar doors slammed shut, and the ship's engine sputtered and died. The massive vessel crashed back to the hangar floor, its hull screeching against metal as it skidded to a halt. Alarms blared throughout the facility as Derek raced from the control room, joining his team on the hangar floor. They fought their way through waves of Purity Front operatives, securing the bioweapon canisters and gathering every piece of intel they could find. As the last of the resistance crumbled, Derek received a transmission from the Unity. "Commander, we've neutralized the hostile forces in orbit. The system is secure." Derek allowed himself a moment of relief before refocusing on the task at hand. "Good work, Unity. Prepare for immediate extraction. We've got a lot to analyze." Days later, the HSS Unity docked at the refugee station, its hull bearing the scars of recent battle. As repair crews swarmed over the ship, Derek convened an urgent strategy meeting in the station's command center. The operation on Novice Prime was successful, but it's clear this is just beginning. Derek addressed the assembled team. "The Purity Front's reach is far greater than we initially believed." He gestured to a new face in the room. "I'd like to introduce Commander Ethan Reeves from Earth's Central Command Intelligence. He'll be joining our team to help us get ahead of the Purity Front's next move." Commander Reeves, a man with sharp features and penetrating eyes, nodded to the group. "I've been tracking the Purity Front for years. What you uncovered on Novice Prime is invaluable." As they delved into the recovered data, the gravity of the situation became clear. Mina, her fingers flying over a holographic display, highlighted a series of coordinates. These appear to be targets, multiple joint human-Trill installations across several sectors. Dr. Valdez leaned forward, her brow furrowed. "And based on the bioweapon samples we recovered, they're planning to hit each target with a tailored pathogen. The potential casualties." Derek's eyes sharp. "We need to strike first. Chief Graves, I want you to start planning a coordinated operation against these Purity Front strongholds. Dr. Valdez, work on developing countermeasures for their bioweapons." As the team dispersed to their tasks, Derek pulled Captain Vex aside. "Lyra, I need you to tap into your contacts in the independent trade routes. We need to know how the Purity Front is moving their personnel and weapons." Vex nodded, her eyes glinting with purpose. "I'll reach out to my network immediately." Over the next few days, the station buzzed with activity. Derek found himself constantly moving between tactical meetings, intelligence briefings, and calls with Earth's Central Command. Just as they were making progress, a new challenge emerged. Derek received a priority communication from the Trill Governing Council, expressing deep reservations about the proposed operation against the Purity Front. "We need to address this personally," Derek told Ambassador Reeves. "Prepare a diplomatic mission to the Trill homeworld. And Mina," he turned to the young Trill, "I want you with us. Your perspective could be crucial." As they boarded a sleek diplomatic shuttle, Derek couldn't shake a sense of urgency. They had the intelligence, they had a plan, but without the Trill Council support, their efforts could be crippled before they began. The shuttle streaked through space, carrying with it the hopes for a united front against a threat that sought to tear two civilizations apart. As the Trill homeworld grew larger in the view screen, Derek steeled himself for the diplomatic battle ahead, knowing that the future of human-Trill relations hung in the balance. Balance. As the Trill homeworld grew closer, Derek couldn't shake the feeling that their diplomatic mission was only the beginning of a much larger challenge. The shuttle docked smoothly at the Trill capital spaceport, its sleek form contrasting with the organic architecture surrounding it. Derek, Ambassador Reeves, and Mina disembarked, greeted by a delegation of Trill officials. "Welcome to Trill," a tall, spotted humanoid stepped forward. "I am Counselor Nerix. The Governing Council awaits your presentation." As they walked through the bustling corridors of the government complex, Derek leaned close to Mina. "Remember, your perspective could be crucial here. Don't hesitate to speak up if you see an opportunity to bridge our two people's viewpoints." Mina nodded, her eyes wide as she took in the grandeur of her species' seat of power. The council chamber was a vast amphitheater, its curved walls adorned with intricate murals depicting Trill history. The counselors, each bearing the distinctive spots of joined Trills, regarded the human delegation with a mix of curiosity and wariness. Derek stepped forward, his voice carrying across the chamber. "Honorable members of the Trill Governing Council, we come before you today with grave news and an urgent request for cooperation." He outlined the Purity Front threat, detailing the recovered intelligence and the proposed joint operation. As he spoke, he could see the counselor's expressions shifting from skepticism to concern. "While we appreciate the seriousness of this threat," Counselor Nerix said after Derek finished, "we have reservations about engaging in such an aggressive military action. The Trill have long been a peaceful people." Ambassador Reeves stepped in, his diplomatic training evident in every measured word. "We understand your concerns, Counselor, but we believe that inaction in the face of this threat poses an even greater risk to both our peoples." The debate continued for hours, with arguments and counter-arguments flying back and forth. Derek found himself growing increasingly frustrated, knowing that every moment of delay gave the Purity Front more time to prepare. It was Mina who finally broke the impasse. She stood, her voice trembling slightly, but growing stronger with each word. "Honored counselors, I am both Trill and a member of Commander Von Hoff's crew. I've seen firsthand the destruction the Purity Front is capable of. If we don't act now, together, we risk losing everything our alliance has built." Her impassioned speech seemed to sway the council. After a brief recess for deliberation, they returned with their decision. "We will support your operation," Counselor Nerix announced. "But we insist on full integration of Trill forces and oversight at every level." Derek nodded, relief washing over him. "Agreed. We'll begin coordinating immediately." As they left the council chamber, Derek's comm unit chirped urgently. He answered to find Admiral Zaraven's holographic form materializing before him. "Commander, we've received new intelligence." The Admiral's voice was tense. "The Purity Front is mobilizing faster than we anticipated. Their first target is a fortified space station in the Helio system. It's a critical logistics hub for their operations." Derek's mind raced, quickly formulating a plan. "Understood, Admiral. We'll rendezvous with the Unity and prepare for immediate deployment." Within hours, The HSS Unity and its accompanying fleet of human and Trill ships emerged from faster-than-light travel in the Helio system. The space station loomed before them, a massive structure jam-packed with defensive arrays and surrounded by Purity front vessels. All ships battle stations, Derek ordered from the Unity's bridge. Human vessels, focus on the outer defenses. Trill ships, target their communication arrays and weapon systems. Let's show them what our combined forces can do. The fleet surged forward, energy weapons lancing out to strike the station's shields. Purity front ships moved to intercept, filling the void with a dazzling array of weapons fire. As the battle intensified, Derek received an urgent communication from Dr. Elena Valdez. Her face appeared on a secondary screen, worry etched across her features. "Commander, we're detecting trace amounts of an unknown bioweapon in the station's exhaust," she reported. "We need to adjust our attack strategy to minimize contamination risk." Derek's mind raced, weighing the options. "Understood, Doctor. All ships, maintain distance from the station's exhaust vents. Adjust your attack vectors accordingly." He turned to Security Chief Marcus Graves, who stood ready nearby. "Chief, prepare your boarding teams. We need to get inside that station and shut it down from within." Graves nodded, his expression grim but determined. "We're ready. Sir, breaching pods are prepped and waiting for your command." As the fleet engaged the station's outer defenses, Derek watched the tactical display, looking for an opening. When a section of the station's shields flickered under the combined assault, he saw his chance. "Now, Chief, launch the boarding pods." Multiple sleek, torpedo-like vessels shot out from the Unity and other ships in the fleet, streaking towards a momentary weak point in the station's defenses. Derek watched with suspenseful pause as they penetrated the shields, impacting against the station's hull. Inside the station, alarms blared as Purity front defenders scrambled to repel the boarders. Graves and his team burst from their breaching pod, immediately engaging in close-quarters combat with the extremists. "We're in." Graves' voice crackled over the comm. "Heavy resistance, but we're pushing forward." As the boarding action unfolded, Derek received another transmission, this time from Captain Lyra Vex. "Commander, I'm approaching the far side of the station in a stealth craft, preparing to infiltrate the central computer core." "Proceed with caution, Captain," Derek replied. "We need that intelligence intact." On the bridge of the Unity, Derek coordinated the complex operation, balancing the ongoing space battle with the internal assault on the station. He watched as Purity front reinforcements began to arrive in the system, adding to the chaos of the engagement. "Admiral Venn, we need to hold those reinforcements at bay," Derek called out. "Can you coordinate our defensive formations?" The Admiral's voice came back strong and clear. "Already on it, Commander. We'll keep them off your back." As the battle raged on multiple fronts, Derek couldn't help but feel a surge of pride at how seamlessly the human and Trill forces worked together. Their complementary tactics were proving highly effective against the Purity front's defenses. Suddenly, a new transmission cut through the din of battle. It was Commander Ethan Reeves, his voice urgent. "Commander Vonhoff, I've been analyzing real-time data from the engagement. There's a critical weakness in the station's power distribution system. If we can exploit it, we might be able to disable their remaining defenses." Derek's mind raced, seeing the potential in this new information. He quickly relayed the details to Graves and Vex, who were deep within the station's corridors. "We can make this work," Graves responded, the sound of weapons fire in the background. "But we'll need to fight our way to key junctions throughout the facility." "I can plant explosive charges at the designated points," Vex added. "But I'll need cover." Derek nodded, even though they couldn't see him. "Understood. Graves, lead a diversionary attack to draw their forces away from the critical areas. Vex, you'll have your opening. Make it count." As the plan unfolded within the station, Derek turned his attention back to the space battle. All ships, intensify your assault on the station's exterior. We need to keep them occupied and prevent them from detecting our true strategy. The Unity and its allied vessels surged forward, their weapons blazing with renewed fury. Derek watched the tactical displays, his heart pounding as he coordinated the complex dance of ships and internal teams. Time seemed to stretch as Derek waited for word from inside the station. Finally, Vec's voice came through, tense but triumphant. "Charges set, Commander. Detonating now." A series of explosions rocked the station, visible even from the Unity's position in space. Suddenly, the facility's external weapons fell silent, its shields flickering and dying. "Direct hit on their power grid," Reeves reported. "The station is running on emergency systems only." Derek allowed himself a small smile of satisfaction. "All ships, move in and neutralize the remaining Purity front vessels. Boarding teams, secure the command center and gather all the intelligence you can find." As the last pockets of resistance crumbled, Derek received confirmation from Graves. "Command center secure. Sir, we've captured several high-ranking Purity front leaders, including the station commander." "Excellent work, Chief," Derek replied. "Begin a thorough sweep of the facility. I want every piece of intel, every scrap of technology cataloged and secured." As the immediate threat subsided, Derek turned his attention to the aftermath of the battle. Reports flooded in from across the fleet. Casualty numbers, damage assessments, preliminary findings from the captured station. Just as he began to process the magnitude of their victory, a priority transmission from Earth's Central Command caught his attention. Derek's brow furrowed as he read the message, its contents adding a new layer of complexity to their already challenging mission. "Commander Reeves," he called out, his voice grave, "I need you in my ready room immediately. We have a potential security breach to discuss." As Reeves acknowledged the order, Derek cast one last look at the secured Purity front station. They had won a significant victory today, but he knew the war was just the beginning. And now, with the possibility of a mole within their own ranks, the path ahead seemed more treacherous than ever. Derek's expression darkened as he studied the message from Earth's Central Command. He turned to face Commander Reeves as the man entered the ready room, his features set in unwavering drive. "We have a problem," Derek said, gesturing for Reeves to take a seat. "There's evidence of a security breach within our ranks. We may have a Purity front mole in a high-level position." Reeves' eyes widened. "That explains how they've managed to stay ahead of us." Derek nodded. "I need you to lead a covert investigation. Work with Admiral Venn to ensure both human and Trill interests are represented. We can't afford any missteps here." As Reeves left to begin his investigation, Derek turned his attention to their next target, a hidden manufacturing facility on a remote asteroid in the Centauri system. Intelligence from the captured space station indicated it was producing advanced weaponry for the Purity front. Derek assembled his strike team, calling Security Chief Marcus Graves, Captain Lyra Vex, and Dr. Kira Voss to the briefing room. As they gathered around the holographic display of the asteroid base, Derek outlined the mission. "This facility is our next major target," he explained, highlighting key areas of the base. "We'll be using a specially modified stealth ship to evade their detection systems. Our goal is to infiltrate, gather intel, and neutralize their weapons production capabilities." As the team prepared for departure, Dr. Elena Valdez burst into the room, her eyes bright with excitement. "Commander, I've made a breakthrough," she announced, holding up a small device. "A new type of personal shield that can protect against both conventional weapons and biological agents." Derek's eyebrows rose. "Impressive work, Doctor. How soon can we have these ready for the strike team?" "I can have them calibrated and ready within the hour," Valdez replied. "Do it," Derek ordered. This could be a game changer. The strike team boarded their stealth ship, each member now equipped with Dr. Valdez's new shields. As they approached the Centauri system, Captain Vex piloted the ship with precision, navigating through the treacherous asteroid field surrounding their target. Suddenly, sensors lit up, detecting a swarm of automated defense drones patrolling the area. Vex's hands flew over the controls as she assessed the situation. "Direct approach is impossible," she reported. "But I have an idea. See that dense cluster of asteroids? If we time it right, we can use them as cover from the drone sensors." Derek nodded his approval. "Do it, Captain." Vex guided the ship into the tumbling mass of rocks, expertly weaving between the spinning boulders. The team held their breath as they watched the drones pass by, their sensors unable to penetrate the asteroid interference. As they emerged from the field and the hidden facility came into view, Derek noticed an unusual level of activity around the base. "They're evacuating," he realized aloud. "We've been compromised." Without hesitation, Derek gave the order. "We need to move now, breach their outer defenses, and get us inside before they can destroy the evidence or escape with those weapons." The strike team sprang into action. Human cybersecurity experts worked in tandem with Trill specialists using biointerface technology to bypass the asteroid's defensive systems. Within minutes, they had created an opening. As they breached the facility's hull, alarms blared throughout the complex. Purity Front defenders rushed to intercept them, wielding prototype weapons unlike anything the team had encountered before. Graves led the charge, his tactical expertise evident as he directed the assault team through the facility's winding corridors. "Push forward," he shouted over the din of battle. "We need to secure the main production area." Meanwhile, Captain Vex and Dr. Voss broke away from the main group, slipping into the shadows to infiltrate the research and development section. They moved swiftly and silently, hacking terminals and downloading critical data on the Purity Front's weapons programs. As they delved deeper into the facility, Dr. Voss made a chilling discovery. "Captain," she called out, her voice tight with urgency. "You need to see this." Vex hurried over, her eyes widening as she scanned the information on the screen. "They're experimenting with human and Trill DNA," she breathed, "creating hybrid soldiers loyal to their cause." Before they could process the implications of this revelation, Derek's voice crackled over their comms. "Strike team, be advised. We've received intel that there's a mole in Earth's Central Command. Our operation may be compromised. Stand by for further instructions." Derek's mind raced as he weighed his options. The potential for leaked intelligence was a serious threat, but the hybrid soldier research was too valuable to abandon. After a moment of intense deliberation, he made his decision. "All units push forward," he ordered. "We need to secure that research before it can be moved or destroyed. The risk is worth the potential intelligence we can gather here." With rekindled drive, the strike team fought their way towards the heart of the facility. As they approached the central laboratory, they encountered a group of prototype hybrid soldiers. The enhanced combatants moved within human speed and strength, their attacks pushing the team to their limits. Dr. Valdez's personal shields proved their worth, deflecting energy blasts and biological agents that would have otherwise incapacitated the team. Graves found himself locked in fierce hand-to-hand combat with the hybrid leader, a brutal dance of strength and skill that pushed him to the edge of his abilities. As the battle raged on, Derek coordinated the assault from the command ship, his eyes darting between tactical displays and incoming data streams. He knew that every moment counted, both in terms of securing the facility and minimizing the potential damage from the mole's betrayal. With a final, desperate push, Graves managed to overpower the hybrid leader, his years of training and experience giving him the edge he needed. As the enhanced soldier fell, the remaining defenders seemed to lose their will to fight, allowing the strike team to secure the facility. "Facility secured," Graves reported, his voice heavy with exertion. beginning sweep and data extraction now. As the team worked to gather all available intelligence and technology, Derek's mind was already racing ahead to their next moves. The hybrid soldier research had to be contained and studied, the asteroid base destroyed to prevent any remaining tech from falling into enemy hands, and the mole in their ranks had to be rooted out. But for now, as he watched the strike team prepare to evacuate with their hard-won intelligence, Derek allowed himself a moment of grim satisfaction. They had dealt the Purity Front another significant blow, and with each victory, they moved one step closer to unraveling the extremist group's plans. As the charges were set and the team prepared to leave the doomed asteroid base behind, Derek knew that the real challenge was just beginning. The next phase of their campaign would require not just military might, but political acumen and diplomatic finesse. With both human and Trill lives hanging in the balance, the stakes had never been higher. With both human and Trill lives hanging in the balance, the stakes had never been greater. As the HSS Unity set course back to the command center, Derek's mind raced with the implications of their recent discoveries. The successful operation at the Purity Front's hidden manufacturing facility in the Centauri system had yielded valuable intelligence, but it had also opened up a new can of worms. "Commander," Reeves' voice crackled over the comm, "I have some preliminary findings on our internal matter." Derek's face hardened. "My ready room, 5 minutes." When Reeves arrived, Derek could see the tension etched on his face. The commander wasted no time getting to the point. "Sir, we've narrowed down the list of potential moles to 3 high-ranking officials." Derek leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "Names!" "Admiral Jonathan Hawkins of Earth's Central Command, Ambassador Lyra Tal of the Trill Diplomatic Corps, and General Zev Korax, the Trill military strategist." Derek absorbed the information, his mind already formulating a plan. "We need to investigate without tipping them off. Graves will handle Hawkins, Vex will observe Tal, and I'll take on Korax myself." As Reeves nodded and turned to leave, Derek's personal comm unit buzzed. Dr. Elena Valdez's excited voice filled the room. "Commander, we've made a breakthrough with the hybrid soldier data from the asteroid facility." Derek's pulse quickened. "What have you found?" "The Purity Front is planning a large-scale production facility for these enhanced combatants. It's on a remote planet in the Epsilon Eridani system." The implications hit Derek like a sledgehammer. If the Purity Front succeeded in mass-producing these hybrid soldiers, the balance of power could shift dramatically in their favor. "Set course for Epsilon Eridani," Derek ordered, his voice firm. "Maximum stealth protocols. Reeves, continue the mole investigation, and use secure channels to update me." As the Unity approached the Epsilon Eridani system, Derek gathered his team in the briefing room. The holographic display showed a dense field of orbital debris surrounding their target planet. Captain Vex's eyes narrowed as she studied the image. "Conventional approach is impossible, sir, but I have an idea." She outlined her plan to use a modified shuttle equipped with sensor jamming technology to slip through the debris field. Derek nodded his approval. "Make it happen, Captain." Hours later, as their shuttle breached the planet's atmosphere, the scale of the Purity Front's operation became clear. Sprawling complexes of buildings and bioengineering labs dotted the landscape, protected by formidable defense systems. Derek divided his forces quickly. "Graves, take your team and disable those power generators. Vex, you and Dr. Voss hit the central research labs. Secure all the data and samples you can. I'll lead the assault on the command center." As they moved out, the facility's defenses came to life. Prototype hybrid soldiers poured out of the buildings, their enhanced abilities immediately apparent. Derek watched as one of the hybrids leaped an impossible distance, closing in on Graves' team with frightening speed. "Shields up," Derek shouted, activating his personal shield just as an energy blast sizzled past his head. The battle raged across the complex. Derek and his squad fought their way through waves of defenders, the personal shields developed by Dr. Valdez proving their worth time and again. As they neared the command center, Derek's comm crackled to life. "Commander," Reeves' voice was tight with urgency. "We have solid evidence. It's Hawkins. He's been making clandestine communications and accessing restricted files on our operations." Derek's mind raced. The mole's identity confirmed, but at the worst possible moment. "Understood. We're accelerating our timeline. Stand by for further orders." He keyed his comm again. "Graves, initiate a controlled overload of the power generators. We need a diversion. Vex Voss, grab what you can and get out. We're leaving." Derek and his team redoubled their efforts, fighting their way into the command center. They secured several high-ranking Purity Front officials just as the first explosions rocked the facility. "Everyone out," Derek ordered, leading the retreat back to their shuttle. As they launched into orbit, dodging debris and pursuit ships, Derek's mind was already on their next moves. The revelation of Admiral Hawkins' betrayal, the intelligence gathered from the facility, and the looming threat of the Purity Front's main stronghold all demanded immediate action. The shuttle docked with the Unity, and Derek strode onto the bridge, his expression grim but determined. "Set course for the command center, maximum speed, and get me a secure line to Earth Central Command. We have a traitor to deal with." As the stars streaked by outside the view screen, Derek knew that the most challenging phase of their campaign was yet to come. The Purity Front's main stronghold awaited, and with it, the chance to strike a decisive blow against the extremist group. He looked around at his crew, human and Trill working side by side, united in purpose. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Derek knew that together, they stood a fighting chance against the forces threatening to tear their alliance apart. As the stars streaked by outside the view screen, Derek knew that the most challenging phase of their campaign was yet to come. The Purity Front's main stronghold awaited, and with it, the chance to strike a decisive blow against the extremist group. The journey to the command center was tense, filled with urgent preparations and strategy sessions. Upon arrival, Derek wasted no time in convening an emergency meeting with his core team and allied leaders. The room buzzed with anticipation as he pulled up the holographic display of the intelligence gathered from the Epsilon Eridani operation. "Our recent mission has yielded critical information," Derek began, his voice steady and authoritative. "We've pinpointed the location of the Purity Front's main base in the Tau Ceti system." The display zoomed in on a heavily fortified planetoid, its surface jam-packed with defense installations. Murmurs rippled through the assembled leaders as they took in the formidable defenses and the large contingent of hybrid soldiers stationed there. Derek outlined his three-pronged attack plan, detailing the diversionary assault, the stealth infiltration, and the full-scale invasion. As he spoke, the holographic display shifted to illustrate each phase of the operation. "Security Chief Graves will lead the diversionary assault," Derek explained, nodding to the grizzled veteran. "Captain Vex, you'll head the stealth infiltration team to take down their shield generators." Just as the meeting was wrapping up, Commander Reeves burst into the room, his face flushed with excitement. "Sir, we've got him. Admiral Hawkins has been apprehended by loyal Earth Central Command forces." The news sent a ripple of relief through the room. Derek's mind raced with the implications. "Interrogate him immediately. We need every scrap of intel he can provide about their defenses and protocols." As the others filed out to begin preparations, Derek made his way to the Unity's engineering bay. Dr. Elena Valdez and her team were hard at work, adapting captured Purity Front technology to enhance their own capabilities. "How's progress, Doctor?" Derek asked, watching as technicians swarmed over experimental weapon systems. Valdez looked up from her workstation, her eyes bright with the thrill of scientific breakthrough. "We're making significant headway, Commander. The hybrid soldier DNA is yielding fascinating results. We've already begun enhancing volunteer human and Trill soldiers for your specialized strike force. Derek nodded, a mix of pride and concern crossing his face. Excellent work. Just remember, we're walking a fine line here. We can't become what we're fighting against. As he turned to leave, Derek was surprised to see General Zev Korax waiting for him. The Trill military strategist had been under investigation as a potential mole, but now he approached with an air of urgency. "Commander," Korax said, his voice low and intense, "I have critical information about the Purity Front's main base. I've been conducting my own covert investigation, and what I've uncovered could be vital to our assault." Derek studied the Trill general carefully, weighing the potential risks and benefits. After a moment, he nodded. "Let's hear it, General." As Korax detailed the layout and vulnerabilities of the main base, Derek's tactical mind whirred into action. He quickly modified the attack plan, assigning Korax to work alongside Commander Reeves in overseeing the battle strategy from the command center. The next few days passed in a blur of activity as the joint human Trill fleet prepared for departure. Ships were outfitted with new weapons, teams drilled on their objectives, and supplies were stockpiled for the coming battle. Finally, the moment arrived. Derek stood on the bridge of the HSS Unity, surveying the assembled fleet. A mix of human and Trill vessels stretched out before him, a testament to the strength of their alliance. "All ships, prepare for jump to Tau Ceti," Derek ordered, his voice calm but filled with commitment. "Maintain strict communication silence until we reach the target system." As the fleet vanished into faster-than-light travel, Derek allowed himself a brief moment of reflection. The coming battle would determine the fate of human-Trill relations and the future of both species in the galaxy. But there was no time for doubt or hesitation now. The Unity emerged from FDL on the outskirts of the Tau Ceti system, the rest of the fleet appearing around it in a carefully choreographed maneuver. Derek's eyes fixed on the tactical display, watching as Security Chief Graves' ships broke formation to begin their diversionary attack on the nearby Purity Front outpost. "Stealth team, you have a go," Derek commanded, and watched as Captain Vec's specially modified ships slipped away towards the main base, their advanced cloaking technology rendering them nearly invisible. Now came the waiting game. Derek paced the bridge, every sense on high alert as he monitored the progress of both teams. Minutes stretched into hours as Graves' diversionary attack drew more and more Purity Front forces away from the main base. Finally, Vec's voice crackled over the comm. "Shield generators neutralized, Commander. You're clear to begin the main assault." Derek's posture straightened, his eyes gleaming with fierce purpose. "All ships, this is Commander Forrester. Commence attack on the main Purity Front base. May fortune favor the bold." The Unity surged forward, leading the charge as the full might of the human Trill fleet descended upon the planetoid. The space around the base erupted into chaos as Purity Front defenders scrambled to mount a response. Energy weapons flared across the void, and Derek felt the deck shudder beneath his feet as the Unity's new hybrid weapon systems came online. The experimental technology proved devastatingly effective, carving through enemy shields and armor with ease. "Drop ships away," Reeves reported from his station. "Strike force is en route to the surface." Derek nodded, his gaze fixed on the swirling battle beyond the view screen. "Coordinate with General Korax. Keep our forces fluid and responsive. The Purity Front won't go down without a fight." As the space battle raged on, Derek made his way to the Unity's hangar bay. A sleek assault shuttle waited, primed for launch. He joined his team of enhanced human and Trill soldiers, each of them a formidable warrior in their own right. "This is it." Derek addressed the strike force, his voice filled with quiet intensity. "We're going to hit their command hub hard and fast. Our objective is to capture or neutralize their leadership, particularly the one known as the Architect. Stay sharp, watch each other's backs, and let's end this." With a final nod to his team, Derek strapped himself into the shuttle. The hangar bay door slid open, revealing the chaotic battlefield beyond. In moments, they were away, streaking towards the surface of the planetoid and the heart of the Purity Front's power. Operations Command Hub. As the shuttle touched down on the planetoid's surface, Derek and his enhanced strike force burst out, weapons at the ready. The air crackled with energy discharges as they engaged the Purity Front's last line of defense. Derek's team moved with superhuman speed and precision, their augmented abilities allowing them to outmaneuver the enemy at every turn. "Push forward," Derek shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos of battle. "We need to reach the central chamber." They fought their way through winding corridors, facing increasingly desperate resistance. The enhanced soldiers proved their worth, their reflexes and strength giving them a decisive edge against the Purity Front's forces. As they neared the heart of the facility, Derek spotted a heavily fortified entrance. "That's it," he said, gesturing to the reinforced doors. "The architect is just beyond. Breaching charges, now." The team worked quickly, placing explosives around the door's frame. With a thunderous blast, the entrance was blown open, and Derek led the charge into the command center. Inside, they found the architect surrounded by a handful of elite guards. The Purity Front leader, a tall figure with piercing eyes, looked from Derek to the carnage beyond the shattered doorway. "It's over," Derek declared, his weapon trained on the architect. "Your forces are in disarray. Surrender now, and we can end this without further bloodshed." For a tense moment, it seemed the architect might resist. Then, with a subtle gesture, he ordered his guards to stand down. "It seems I underestimated the strength of your alliance," he said, his voice filled with disdain. As Derek moved to secure the architect, the rest of his team fanned out, subduing the remaining Purity Front operatives. The capture of their leaders seemed to break the will of the extremists, and reports began flooding in of enemy forces, laying down their arms across the battlefield. Security Chief Graves arrived with reinforcements, helping to secure the command center. "The base is ours, Commander," he reported. "What are your orders?" Derek's mind raced with the implications of their victory. "I want every inch of this facility searched," he commanded. "Every database, every scrap of information. We need it all. This is our chance to dismantle the Purity Front once and for all." As his team began the arduous task of combing through the vast archives of Purity Front intelligence, Derek received a transmission from Captain Vex. Her face appeared on a nearby screen, triumph evident in her expression. "Commander, we've successfully decrypted their secure communications," she reported. "You won't believe what we found. We have locations of secondary bases, safe houses, even a complete roster of their operatives embedded in our societies." Derek nodded, a grim smile on his face. "Excellent work, Captain. This information will be crucial in rooting out the remaining Purity Front influence. Coordinate with our forces to launch strikes against those secondary targets immediately." As the situation at the Tau Ceti base stabilized, Derek's comm unit crackled to life with an urgent message from Commander Reeves at the command center. The news he delivered sent a chill down Derek's spine. "Sir, we have a situation." Reeves' voice was tight with tension. "In the wake of Admiral Hawkins' arrest, we've uncovered a network of Purity Front sympathizers in high-ranking positions within both human and Trill governments. The political fallout is significant." Derek's mind raced with the implications. This revelation could threaten the very foundation of the Human-Trill Alliance. "Understood, Commander. I'm on my way back. Have the Unity prepped for immediate departure." Turning to Security Chief Graves, Derek issued his final orders. "Chief, you're in charge here. Oversee the prisoner transfers, including the architect. I need to return to the command center to deal with this political crisis." Graves nodded solemnly. "You can count on me. Sir, we'll make sure every piece of intel is secured and analyzed." As Derek boarded the Unity with Captain Vex and a small team of advisors, he couldn't shake the feeling that their victory at Tau Ceti, as significant as it was, might be overshadowed by the storm brewing in the political arena. During the journey back to the command center, Derek immersed himself in the intelligence gathered from the Purity Front archives. What he uncovered was deeply troubling. A long-term strategy to manipulate human-trill relations, exploiting cultural differences and historical grievances to drive a wedge between the two species. "This goes deeper than we ever imagined," Derek muttered, poring over the data. "They've been playing a long game, working to undermine our alliance from within." Captain Vex, reviewing the information alongside him, nodded grimly. "The question is, how do we counter this narrative? How do we rebuild trust when the very foundations of our cooperation have been shaken?" As the Unity approached the command center, Derek steeled himself for the challenges ahead. The battle against the Purity Front was a long way to go. It had simply shifted to a new, perhaps even more treacherous arena. The moment they docked, Derek was met with a flurry of activity. Commander Reeves rushed to brief him on the latest developments. "Sir, the situation has escalated. Protests have erupted on multiple human and Trill worlds. Citizens are demanding answers, transparency. It's chaos out there." Derek's heart made as he absorbed the news. "Assemble the key Allied leaders immediately. We need to formulate a response before the situation spirals further out of control." As they made their way to the emergency meeting, alarms suddenly blared throughout the command center. Dr. Elena Valdez's voice came over the intercom, urgency evident in her tone. "Commander Forrester, I need to speak with you immediately. We've made a discovery in the Tau Ceti data that changes everything." Derek exchanged a worried glance with Captain Vex. Whatever Dr. Valdez had found, it was clear that their challenges were only beginning. Beginning. Derek's mind raced as he processed Dr. Valdez's urgent message. "Put her through to my personal comm," he ordered, stepping away from the group. "Doctor, what have you found?" Elena's voice crackled with static, her words coming in a rush. "Commander, we've detected traces of a highly sophisticated bioweapon in the Tau Ceti data. It's unlike anything we've ever seen before, a potential threat to both humans and Trill." Derek's mind focused. "Understood. Secure that data and prepare a full briefing. I'll be there as soon as I can." Turning back to the assembled leaders, Derek took a deep breath. The challenges ahead were mounting, but he knew what needed to be done. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a crisis on our hands," he began, his voice steady and determined. "But we also have an opportunity to strengthen our alliance and root out the corruption that has threatened both our peoples." Over the next few hours, Derek laid out a comprehensive plan to address the immediate threats and stabilize the human-Trill alliance. He ordered the creation of a joint oversight committee to review all high-level appointments, initiated a massive public information campaign, and established a specialized task force to tackle the bioweapon threat. As the meeting concluded, Derek turned to Security Chief Marcus Graves. "Chief, I need you to oversee the implementation of enhanced security protocols across all our joint installations. We can't afford any more breaches." Graves nodded, his expression grim. "I'll get right on it. Sir, we'll tighten things up so tight a photon couldn't slip through undetected." With the immediate crisis management underway, Derek shifted his focus to the intelligence gathered from the Purity Front archives. He authorized a series of coordinated raids on suspected extremist cells, putting Captain Lyra Vex in charge of the operations. "Captain, use every covert tactic at your disposal," Derek instructed. "We need to neutralize these threats before they can regroup or retaliate." Vex's eyes gleamed with purpose. "Consider it done, Commander. My team, and I will hit them so hard they won't know what dimension they're in." As the days passed, Derek found himself working around the clock. He personally oversaw the interrogation of the architect, ensuring that the process adhered to strict ethical guidelines while still extracting critical intelligence. The information obtained led to the discovery of several hidden purity front laboratories, which were promptly secured. In the midst of these efforts, Derek received an urgent communique from the Trill colony world of Nix-4. The news sent a chill down his spine. A group of extremists had taken control of a major population center, threatening to use a stolen bioweapon prototype if their demands for the dissolution of the Human-Trill Alliance weren't met. Derek immediately sprang into action, mobilizing a response team composed of both human and Trill special forces. As he briefed the team on their high-stakes rescue operation, an aide rushed in with another urgent message. "Sir, we've just received word from the Trill Governing Council," the aide reported, his voice tense. A faction within the council is pushing for a temporary suspension of the alliance, citing security concerns in the wake of the Purity Front revelations. Derek felt the weight of the situation settle on his shoulders. He knew that the success or failure of the Nix-4 operation could have far-reaching consequences for the stability of the alliance. In that moment, he made a decision that would shape the course of human-Trill relations. "Prepare my transport," he ordered, his voice firm. "I'm personally leading this rescue operation on Nix-4." As Derek boarded the transport alongside the response team, he could feel the eyes of both humans and Trill upon him. The fate of their alliance hung in the balance, and he knew that every action he took from this point forward would be scrutinized. The transport hummed to life, its engines powering up for the journey to Nix-4. Derek strapped himself in, his mind already formulating strategies for the complex operation ahead. As the ship lifted off, he allowed himself a brief moment to reflect on the enormity of the task before him. The success of this mission wouldn't just save lives on Nix-4. It could be the key to preserving the fragile peace between humans and Trill. With that thought firmly in mind, Derek turned his attention to the tactical display, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them on the embattled colony world. The Unity's engines thrummed as it descended through Nix-IV's atmosphere. Derek stood at the viewport, his eyes fixed on the sprawling cityscape below. The occupied population center loomed in the distance, a stark reminder of the challenges that lay ahead. As the ship touched down on the outskirts of the city, Derek turned to address the assembled Human-Trill Special Forces team. "We're entering a volatile situation," he said, his voice steady. "Our priority is the safety of the hostages and the containment of the bioweapon. Stay alert and remember your training." The team disembarked swiftly, setting up a forward operating base with practiced efficiency. Within hours, a perimeter was established around the affected area, with local Trill authorities providing support and additional manpower. Derek strode into the makeshift command center, where holographic displays flickered to life, showing real-time data from reconnaissance drones. He studied the images intently, his brow furrowing as he took in the extremist fortifications. "They've barricaded themselves in the central administrative complex," he observed, pointing to key positions on the map. "Snipers on the upper levels, reinforced entry points. This won't be easy." Captain Vex approached, her expression grim. "Sir, we're picking up increased chatter on local communications networks. Protests are breaking out on several Trill worlds in response to your presence here." Derek nodded, his eyes sharpening. He had anticipated this reaction, but the reality of it still stung. "We need to address this quickly," he said. "Get me a secure line to Admiral Zara Venn. We'll need her here to co-lead this operation." As he waited for the communication to be established, Derek turned his attention to the tactical situation. "Deploy the jamming equipment," he ordered. "I want their communications disrupted. And start evacuating civilians from the surrounding areas immediately." The command center burst into action, officers relaying orders and coordinating movements. Outside, the whine of transport vehicles filled the air as the evacuation began. Derek's comm unit crackled to life, Admiral Venn's holographic image appearing before him. "Commander Forrester," she said, her tone measured. I understand the situation on Nyx has escalated. Indeed it has, Admiral, Derek replied. I'm requesting your presence here to co-lead this operation. We need to show a united front. Admiral Venn nodded, her expression resolute. I'll depart immediately. Expect me within the hour. As the hologram faded, Derek turned his attention back to the tactical display. The jamming equipment was online, creating a communications blackout around the complex. He watched as the safe zone expanded, civilians streaming away from the potential blast radius of the bioweapon. A commotion at the command center's entrance drew his attention. Dr. Elena Valdez rushed in, her eyes wide with excitement and urgency. "Commander," she called out, "we've done it. We've developed a neutralization agent for the bioweapon." Derek's pulse quickened. "That's excellent news, Doctor. What's the catch?" "It needs to be deployed in close proximity to the weapon," Elena explained, her expression turning serious. "We're talking about a range of mere meters." Derek absorbed this information, his mind already racing with the implications for their rescue plan. He was about to respond when an aide interrupted, announcing the arrival of Admiral Venn. The Trill Admiral strode into the command center, her presence immediately commanding attention. Derek moved to greet her, relief evident in his expression. "Admiral, thank you for coming so quickly." "The situation demanded it," Venn replied, her eyes scanning the tactical displays. "Bring me up to speed." For the next hour, Derek and Admiral Venn huddled with their top officers, refining the rescue plan. They decided on a multi-pronged approach: a diversionary attack, a stealth infiltration, and a frontal assault. A small, specialized team would be tasked with locating and neutralizing the bioweapon. As night fell, Derek stood before the assembled forces, human and Trill alike. The air was thick with tension and anticipation. "The moment has come," he began, his voice carrying across the assembled troops. "Remember your training, trust in each other, and let's bring these people home." With a nod to Admiral Venn, Derek gave the order: "Commence operation." The night exploded into action. Controlled detonations rocked the eastern wing of the complex, drawing the attention of the extremists. Through night vision goggles, Derek watched as Captain Vec's stealth team slipped into the maintenance tunnels, disappearing from view. At the main entrance, Security Chief Graves led the frontal assault. The sound of weapons fire erupted, punctuated by shouts and the distinctive whine of energy weapons. From the mobile command center, Derek and Admiral Venn coordinated the operation, their voices calm and steady as they directed their forces. Updates flowed in from all teams, painting a picture of hard-fought progress. "Sir," an aide called out, "Captain Vex reports they've breached the lower levels. They're encountering resistance, but managing to overcome it." Derek nodded, his eyes fixed on the holographic representation of the complex. "Tell her to keep pushing. We need to get those hostages out." As the operation progressed, Derek noticed a shift in the extremist movements. They were falling back, concentrating their forces in the central area of the complex. His eyes narrowed as he studied the pattern. "They're making a last stand," he muttered, a chill running down his spine. They might be planning to detonate the bioweapon. Admiral Venn leaned in, her expression mirroring Derek's concern. "We need to neutralize that weapon immediately." Derek's mind raced, weighing the risks and possibilities. In that moment, he knew what he had to do. "I'm going in," he announced, standing up. "I'll lead a strike team to reinforce the bioweapon neutralization unit." Admiral Venn's eyes widened. "Commander, are you certain?" "The risks are necessary," Derek finished, already moving towards the equipment lockers. "We're out of time, Admiral. I need you to take command here." As Derek donned his protective gear and checked his weapons, he could feel the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. The success of this mission, the lives of the hostages, and the future of human-trill relations all hung in the balance. With a final nod to Admiral Venn, Derek gathered his strike team and moved out into the chaos of the battlefield. The complex loomed before them, a fortress of desperation and extremism. As they approached, weapons at the ready, Derek steeled himself for the confrontation to come. The fate of two worlds rested on what happened next. Next in that darkened complex. Derek took a deep breath, steadying himself as he led his strike team into the building. The moment they breached the entrance, chaos erupted. Weapons fire lit up the dim corridors, the acrid smell of ozone filling the air. Derek ducked behind a fallen pillar, signaling his team to take cover. "Advance by twos," he ordered, his voice calm despite the din of battle. "Non-lethal takedowns where possible. We need to minimize civilian casualties." The team moved with practiced precision, clearing room after room. Derek led from the front, his movements fluid and decisive. As they ascended through the levels, the resistance grew fiercer. "Command, this is Forrester." Derek spoke into his comm. "We're encountering heavy opposition. What's the status on the bioweapon?" Admiral Venn's voice crackled through. "The neutralization team has located the vault, but they're having trouble bypassing the security measures." "Eta unknown." Derek gritted his teeth. "Understood. We're pushing forward to reinforce their position." As they neared the vault's location, the sound of intense gunfire erupted ahead. Derek's team rounded a corner to find the bioweapon neutralization unit pinned down by a group of extremists. Suppressing fire, Derek shouted, unleashing a barrage that forced the attackers to seek cover. In the momentary lull, Derek assessed the situation. The vault door loomed behind the extremists, its reinforced structure a testament to the deadly contents within. "Neutralization team, report," Derek called out. A harried voice responded, "Commander, we've bypassed 2 layers of security, but this final mechanism is unlike anything we've seen. We need more time." Before Derek could respond, a new voice boomed through the complex's speaker system. "This is Dorn Valex," the voice announced, its tone cold and determined. "Your efforts are futile. Meet our demands, or I will detonate the bioweapon and bring this entire city to its knees." Derek's mind raced. He keyed his comm. "Admiral Venn, we need options. The extremist leader is threatening immediate detonation." "Understood, Commander," Venn replied. "I'm redirecting Captain Vex's stealth team to your location for additional support. In the meantime, see if you can keep Valex talking. We need to buy time for the neutralization team." Derek nodded to himself. "Valex," he called out. "This is Commander Forrester. Let's discuss this. There's no need for further bloodshed." As Derek engaged Valex in dialogue, he noticed movement in his peripheral vision. Security Chief Graves and a small team were silently making their way through a maintenance shaft, outflanking the extremist position. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the complex. A sickly yellow gas began seeping from vents in the ceiling. "Gas!" Derek shouted. "Masks on now!" His team scrambled to don their protective gear. Several extremists collapsed, overcome by the nerve agent. In the confusion, Derek saw his opportunity. "All units push forward," he ordered. The combined human and Trill forces surged ahead, fighting through the weakened extremist defenses. Captain Vex's team arrived moments later, providing crucial supporting fire. As they neared the vault, Derek spotted a figure trying to slip away amid the chaos. "Valex!" he shouted, recognizing the extremist leader. Derek pursued Valex through the smoke-filled corridors, their footsteps echoing in the din of battle. They emerged onto a walkway overlooking the vault chamber. Valex spun around, a detonator clutched in his hand. "It's over, Forrester," Valex snarled. "One press of this button and it all ends." Derek tensed, calculating the distance between them. Think about what you're doing, Valix. This won't solve anything. It'll only bring more pain, more division. Valix's finger hovered over the detonator. You don't understand. The alliance is a mistake. It will be the downfall of both our peoples. You're wrong, Derek countered, inching closer. We're stronger together. This operation proves it. Valix's commitment seemed to waver for a moment. It was all the opening Derek needed. He lunged forward, tackling Valix to the ground. The detonator skittered across the floor as the two men grappled. Valix fought with the desperation of a cornered animal, but Derek's training gave him the edge. After a fierce struggle, Derek managed to pin Valix, twisting his arm behind his back. It's finished, Valix, Derek said, breathing heavily. Your plan has failed. Security Chief Graves and his team rushed in, securing Valix and the detonator. Derek stood, his body aching from the fight. Status on the bioweapon? He asked, keying his calm. Dr. Valdez's voice came through, tinged with relief. We've done it, Commander. The prototype has been neutralized and secured for transport. Derek allowed himself a small smile. Excellent work, Doctor. Begin evacuation procedures immediately. As medical teams streamed in to treat the wounded and start decontamination, Derek made his way back to the vault chamber. Admiral Venn was there, overseeing the final stages of the operation. Well done, Commander, Venn said, her eyes reflecting respect and a hint of warmth. This victory will go a long way in strengthening our alliance. Derek nodded, but before he could respond, his comm unit chimed urgently. The voice of his aide at Earth Central Command came through, tense and hurried. Commander Forrester, we've received new intelligence. The Nix-4 incident, it might have been a diversion. We're detecting signs of a larger Purity Front operation in progress elsewhere in the galaxy. Derek exchanged a grave look with Admiral Venn. The immediate crisis was over, but it seemed their fight against the forces threatening the Human-Trill Alliance was far from finished. Over, Derek's mind raced with the implications of this new intelligence. He turned to Admiral Venn, his expression grim. We need to act fast, he said, already moving towards the exit. Let's set up a temporary command post here in the complex. We can't afford to lose any time. Admiral Venn nodded, her trill spots seeming to darken with concentration. Agreed. I'll have my staff bring in the necessary equipment. Within minutes, the administrative section of the complex buzzed with activity. Monitors flickered to life, displaying tactical readouts and communication channels. Derek stood at the center, issuing rapid-fire orders. Commander Reeves, he called out to the Human-Trill Intelligence Chief. I want every scrap of Purity Front communication we've intercepted during this crisis analyzed. Look for patterns, hidden messages, anything that might give us a clue about their larger operation. Reeves nodded, his fingers already flying across a data pad. On it, Sir will start cross-referencing with our existing databases immediately. Derek turned to Captain Lyra Vex, who had just entered the command post. Captain, I need you and your team to conduct a thorough search of Valix's quarters. If he was involved in planning this larger operation, there might be evidence there. Understood, Commander, Vex replied, her voice steady despite the fatigue evident in her posture. We'll leave no stone unturned. As Vex's team departed, Dr. Elena Valdez approached, her lab coat still bearing traces of the neutralization agent. Commander, we've begun reverse engineering the bioweapon prototype. It's fascinating in a terrifying way. The complexity of its design suggests access to advanced research facilities. Derek leaned in, his interest piqued. Any leads on where they might have developed it? Elena nodded, pulling up a holographic display. We detected traces of exotic materials in its composition. Our initial analysis points to a source in the Epsilon Indi system, possibly a remote mining outpost. Excellent work, Doctor, Derek said, his mind already formulating potential strategies. Keep digging. Any information you can provide could be crucial. A commotion near the entrance drew Derek's attention. Security Chief Marcus Graves was wrestling with a struggling prisoner, one of the captured extremists being transferred to a nearby Trill military base. "Stand down!" Graves shouted, his muscular frame straining as he subdued the would-be escapee. In the scuffle, a small object clattered to the floor. Derek moved swiftly, scooping up the item. It was a compact communications device, unlike any standard-issue equipment. "Good catch, Chief," he said, handing the device to a nearby technician for analysis. "This could be a valuable find." As the situation calmed, Admiral Venn approached Derek, her expression a mix of relief and concern. "I've just received word from the Trill Governing Council," she said quietly. "The resolution of the Nix-4 crisis has helped ease some of the unrest on Trill worlds, but there are still pockets of protest. Some groups are calling for a re-evaluation of our alliance." Derek nodded, understanding the delicate political balance at play. "We'll need to address those concerns head-on, Admiral. Perhaps a joint statement reaffirming our commitment to cooperation?" Before Venn could respond, a young Trill scientist approached, her eyes wide with excitement. "Commander Forrester? I'm Lyra Jun from the Astrophysics Department. I've detected some unusual energy readings near the Epsilon Indi system, coinciding with the location of that mining outpost Dr. Valdez mentioned." Derek's eyebrows rose. "Show me," he said, following Jun to her workstation. The display showed a pulsating anomaly, its energy signature unlike anything he'd seen before. As he studied the readings, Commander Reeves called out from across the room. "Sir, we've managed to partially decrypt one of the data drives recovered from Valex's quarters. It's fragmentary, but it mentions a massive installation hidden in an asteroid field in the Epsilon Indi system." The pieces were falling into place. Derek straightened, his decision made. "Admiral," he said, turning to Venn, "I believe we've found our target. The Epsilon Indi system is the key to the Purity Front's next major operation." Venn nodded, her eyes glinting with perseverance. "Agreed. We'll need to assemble a task force immediately. I'll recall the HSS Unity to serve as our flagship." As the command center erupted into a flurry of activity, Derek felt a familiar surge of adrenaline. The crisis on Nix-4 had been will-powered, but a far greater challenge lay ahead. The fate of both humans and Trills would likely be decided in the asteroid fields of Epsilon Indi. He moved to a communications terminal, preparing to brief his crew on the Unity. Whatever the Purity Front was planning, they would be ready to face it head-on. The alliance between humans and Trills had been tested on Nix-4, and it had emerged stronger. Now, that strength would be put to the ultimate test. As Derek began to speak, he could feel the weight of two worlds resting on his shoulders. But he also felt the unwavering support of his human and Trill comrades. Together, they would meet this threat and ensure a future of cooperation and peace for both their peoples. As Derek began briefing his crew on the Unity, the ship's engines thrummed to life. The fleet assembled quickly, a testament to the efficiency of the human-Trill alliance. Within hours, they were underway, streaking through space towards the Epsilon Indi system. Upon arrival, Derek wasted no time. "Initiate full-spectrum scan of the asteroid field," he ordered from the Unity's bridge. "Focus on the coordinates provided by intelligence." The ship's sensor officer, Lieutenant Tara Chun, hunched over her console. "Scan in progress, Commander." "Wait, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from a large asteroid near the center of the field." Derek leaned forward, studying the holographic display. The asteroid in question was massive, easily large enough to house a significant installation. "Can you give me more detail on those energy readings?" Chen's fingers flew over her controls. "It's unlike anything I've seen before, so the output suggests advanced power systems, possibly shielding technology." Good work, Lieutenant, Derek said. He turned to his communications officer. Launch our stealth recon drones. I want a detailed analysis of that asteroid's defenses and potential entry points. As the drones deployed, Derek paced the bridge, his mind racing through potential strategies. The incoming data confirmed his suspicions. The asteroid was heavily fortified, jam-packed with concealed weapon emplacements and shield generators. Three-pronged attack, Derek announced, calling his senior officers to attention. Captain Vex, you'll lead a small infiltration team. Your objective is to disable those shield generators. Vex nodded, her expression determined. We'll get it done, Commander. Derek continued. Security Chief Graves, I need you to command a diversionary attack. Hit them hard on the opposite side of the installation. Draw their fire away from Vex's team. Graves cracked his knuckles. Looking forward to it, sir. I'll lead the main assault once the shields are down, Derek concluded. Any questions? Before anyone could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. Sir, Chun called out. The asteroid's defenses have activated. They've detected our presence. The space around them erupted in weapons fire. Derek gripped his command chair as the Unity rocked from a near miss. Evasive maneuvers. All ships maintain safe distance and engage electronic countermeasures. Jam their targeting systems. The human Trill fleet scattered, their ships dancing through the asteroid field in a dizzying display of piloting skill. Beams of energy sliced through the void, most finding only empty space as the Unity's ECM systems worked overtime. Amidst the chaos, Derek spotted an opening. Captain Vex, this is your window. Get your team aboard that rock. Vex infiltration ship, a sleek vessel designed for stealth, darted towards the asteroid. It shimmered and vanished from view, its cloaking technology rendering it invisible to both eyes and sensors. We're in, Commander. Vex's voice crackled over the comm. Breaching the outer hull now. Derek allowed himself a small smile. Phase 1 was underway. He turned his attention to Graves' diversionary force, watching as they launched a series of lightning-fast strikes against the asteroid's exterior defenses. The Purity Front responded predictably, redirecting a significant portion of their firepower to counter this new threat. Derek's tactical display showed the shift in enemy positions, revealing vulnerabilities in their defensive network. Suddenly, a priority message flashed on his console. Commander. Dr. Valdez's face appeared on screen, her expression urgent. We've detected traces of the same exotic materials used in the Nix-4 bioweapon. This installation is definitely involved in their weapons program. Derek's eyes hardened. Understood, Doctor. Thank you. He opened a channel to Vex team. Captain, new objective. Prioritize locating and seizing any weapon prototypes or research data you come across. Copy that, Commander, Vex replied, her voice slightly strained. We're approaching the power core now. Resistance is heavy, but we're managing. As Derek prepared to issue further orders, a shout from his sensor officer drew his attention. Commander, long-range sensors are picking up a new contact. It's big. Sir, a battlecruiser, emerging from FDL on the far side of the system. The tactical display updated, showing the new arrival. Its profile was unmistakable, a Purity Front vessel, dripping with advanced weapons. Identification? Derek asked, his voice tense. Transponder reads as Purity's Flame, sir, Jim reported. It's on an intercept course with our position. Derek's mind raced, reassessing the tactical situation. They couldn't afford to let that battlecruiser join the fray, but neither could they abandon the assault on the asteroid. A split-second decision was needed. Admiral Venn, he called out. Take half the fleet and intercept that battlecruiser. Keep it occupied and away from our operation here. Understood, Commander, Venn replied, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. We'll hold the line. As Ven's ships peeled away from the main fleet, Derek refocused on the asteroid assault. Status on the shield generators? He demanded. Captain Vec's team has reached the main generator complex, his tactical officer reported. They're encountering heavy resistance, but... Wait! The shields are fluctuating. Derek leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. This was the moment they'd been waiting for. All assault teams, prepare for immediate deployment, he ordered. The second those shields drop, we're going in. The tension on the bridge was palpable as they watched the shield strength indicators fluctuate wildly. Suddenly they flatlined. Shields down! Chen shouted. Derek was already moving. Launch all dropships. Marines, prepare for boarding action. This is it, people. Let's end this threat once and for all. As he sprinted towards his personal dropship, Derek could hear the roar of engines as dozens of assault craft launched from the Unity and its sister ships. The battle for the asteroid installation had entered its final, decisive phase. Strapping himself into the pilot's seat, Derek took manual control of his craft. The asteroid loomed large in his viewport, its surface now pockmarked with explosions as the human trill fleet unleashed its full firepower on the exposed defenses. All units! This is Commander Forrester. He broadcasts on the assault force's frequency. Our objective is the central command center. Fight your way through, secure any intel or prototypes you find, and remember, we're here to end this threat, not just win a battle. Let's make this count. With that, Derek gunned his engines, leading the charge towards the asteroid's now vulnerable docking bays. The space around him filled with weapons fire and the glare of explosions as the Purity Front launched a desperate defense of their installation. Derek's hands tightened on the controls. The real fight was just beginning. As Derek's dropship hurtled towards the asteroid's surface, his mind raced with tactical calculations and contingencies. The docking bay loomed ahead, a gaping maw in the pockmarked surface of the installation. All units, prepare for hard landing. Derek barked into his comm. The ship shuddered as it pierced the weakened shields, alarms blaring as automated defenses came to life. With practiced precision, Derek maneuvered through a hail of laser fire, setting the craft down with a bone-jarring thud. The instant the hatch opened, Derek and his team were moving, the air filled with the sharp crack of gunfire and the acrid smell of ozone. Derek ducked behind a stack of cargo crates, his pulse rifle at the ready. Commander, Captain Vec's voice crackled over the comm. We've secured the main generator complex, but Purity Front forces are regrouping. They're making a push towards the central command center. Understood, Derek replied, signaling his team to advance. All units, converge on the command center. That's our primary objective. They fought their way through winding corridors, each turn bringing fresh resistance. Derek's team moved with practiced efficiency, human and trill soldiers working in seamless coordination. The sounds of battle echoed through the station. Distant explosions, the staccato of gunfire, and the occasional scream. As they neared the command center, the resistance intensified. Purity Front zealots threw themselves at the advancing Alliance forces with fanatical tenacity. Derek's rifle grew hot in his hands as he returned fire, each shot finding its mark. "Sir," a young Trill ensign called out, pointing to a heavily reinforced door. "I think this is it." Derek nodded, keying his comm. "All teams, report in. We're at the command center entrance." As confirmation came in from the other strike teams, Derek studied the door's locking mechanism. "Chief Graves, we need that door open. Now." Graves grinned, producing a compact device from his pack. "With pleasure, sir." Moments later, the door exploded inward in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. Derek led the charge, his rifle sweeping the room as he entered. The command center was a hive of activity. Purity Front operators working frantically at their stations. "Surrender now!" Derek's voice boomed through the chaos. "It's over!" For a moment, it seemed the remaining Purity Front members might resist. Then, slowly, hands began to raise and surrender. Derek allowed himself a brief sigh of relief before turning to his team. "Secure the prisoners and lock down all systems," he ordered. "I want every bit of data retrieved and analyzed." As his team moved to comply, Derek's comm crackled to life. "Commander," Admiral Ven's voice came through, tinged with static. "The Purity's flame has been neutralized. We're beginning boarding operations now." "Excellent work, Admiral," Derek replied. "We've secured the command center here. Stand by for further orders." With the immediate threat contained, Derek turned his attention to the wealth of intelligence surrounding him. Holographic displays flickered with data streams, tactical readouts, and communication logs. His eyes narrowed as he began to piece together the scope of the Purity Front's operations. "Sir," a human analyst called out, her fingers flying over a console. "I'm detecting encrypted files. Massive data streams. I think we've hit the jackpot." Derek moved to her station, studying the scrolling information. "Get Dr. Valdez on this immediately. I want every byte of data secured and analyzed." As the command center hummed with activity, Derek felt a surge of cautious optimism. They had dealt the Purity Front a significant blow, but something told him this was not nearly finished. His instincts, honed by years of combat experience, whispered that an even greater challenge lay ahead. "Commander Reeves," Derek called out, "I need you to start mapping out everything we find here. Look for patterns, hidden bases, anything that might point to their next move." Reeves nodded, already immersed in the flood of data. "On it. Sir, I'll have a preliminary report for you within the hour." Derek turned, surveying the captured command center. Alliance soldiers moved efficiently, securing prisoners and gathering intelligence. The mixed human and Trill teams worked with a unity of purpose that filled him with pride. His comm unit chimed, and Derek answered to find Dr. Valdez's excited face on the small screen. "Commander, you need to see this," she said, her eyes wide. "We've uncovered something. Alarming." "I'm on my way," Derek replied, already moving toward the exit. As he strode through the corridors of the conquered installation, his mind raced with possibilities. Whatever the Purity Front had been planning here, he was certain of one thing. This was only the beginning of their fight. The station's halls echoed with the sounds of Alliance forces securing their hard-won victory. But for Derek, the real work was just starting. As he made his way to Dr. Valdez's makeshift lab, he steeled himself for whatever revelation awaited him, knowing that the fate of both human and Trill civilizations might hang in the balance. Balance. The weight of their mission pressed heavily on Derek's shoulders as he led his strike team through the winding corridors of the Purity Front stronghold. The air grew thick with tension as they approached their target. Sweat beaded on Derek's forehead, his enhanced senses on high alert for any sign of danger. The narrow passageways echoed with the staccato of gunfire and the shouts of combatants, growing louder with each step. "Contact front," a Marine called out, her voice sharp with urgency. Derek dropped to a crouch, his rifle snapping up as Purity Front zealots poured from a side corridor. The air filled with the acrid smell of ozone as energy weapons discharged, leaving scorch marks on the metallic walls. "Push through," Derek ordered, his voice firm despite the chaos. He led by example, advancing steadily while laying down precise bursts of suppressing fire. The team moved as one, their months of joint training evident in every coordinated movement. Human and Trill soldiers covered each other's advances, their differences forgotten in the heat of battle. As they fought their way forward, Derek's comm crackled to life. "Commander," Chief Graves' voice came through, punctuated by the sound of distant explosions. "We're approaching the control room from the east. Heavy resistance, but we're making progress. Copy that, Chief, Derek replied, ducking as a bolt of energy sizzled past his head. We're closing in from the west. Keep pushing. The corridor ahead ended in a heavily reinforced blast door. Derek signaled his team to take up defensive positions as he studied the obstacle. Breaching charges, he called out, holding out his hand. A Marine quickly placed the explosives in his palm. With practiced efficiency, Derek set the charges and stepped back. Fire in the hole! The explosion rocked the corridor, the blast door buckling inward with a screech of tortured metal. Through the smoke and debris, Derek caught his first glimpse of the control room beyond, and the figures waiting within. Standing at the center of the room, surrounded by banks of pulsing holographic displays, was a tall, severe-looking man. His eyes locked with Derek's, a mixture of contempt and resignation etched on his face. Theron Vex, Derek growled, recognition dawning. Before Derek could advance, Vex's hand shot out, slamming down on a prominent red button. Alarms began to blare throughout the facility, their urgent wail adding to the cacophony of battle. You're too late, Commander, Vex sneered, his voice carrying even over the din. The weapon is armed. Our great purification begins now. Derek charged forward, his team fanning out behind him to engage the other council members. The room erupted into close-quarters combat, the confined space making it impossible to use ranged weapons effectively. Vex met Derek's charge head-on, his own enhanced abilities evident in the speed and precision of his movements. The two leaders clashed in a blur of strikes and counters, each searching for an advantage. Derek managed to land a solid blow, sending Vex stumbling back against the control panel. But the Purity Front leader's hand found a hidden switch, and the floor beneath them began to split open. Both men leapt back as a massive cylindrical device rose from the depths of the stronghold. Its surface pulsed with an otherworldly energy, growing more intense by the second. "Behold the instrument of our salvation," Vex proclaimed, his eyes gleaming with fanatical fervor. The arrival of Graves and his team shifted the balance. Caught between two forces, the remaining Purity Front members were quickly subdued. Derek turned his full attention to Vex, their battle resuming with renewed intensity. As they fought, Derek's calm came to life once more. "Commander," Dr. Valdez's voice was urgent. "The weapon's energy readings are off the charts. A standard shutdown won't work. We need to overload the core." Derek's mind raced, assessing their options in the split second between exchanging blows with Vex. The implications were clear. An overload would destroy not just the weapon, but the entire stronghold. With a surge of strength, Derek managed to knock Vex off balance. In that brief moment of respite, he keyed his calm. "All Alliance forces, this is Commander Forrester. Evacuate immediately. I repeat, evacuate immediately." Ignoring the protests that immediately flooded the channel, Derek turned his attention to the weapon's core. He fought his way through the last pockets of resistance, each step bringing him closer to the pulsing heart of the Purity Front's ultimate weapon. As he reached the core control panel, Derek allowed himself one final glance at the chaos around him. Alliance troops were retreating, dragging their injured comrades to safety. The stronghold shook with internal explosions, the weapon's power building to catastrophic levels. With a deep breath, Derek began the overload sequence. His fingers flew over the controls, each input bringing them closer to salvation and to his own demise. As the energy readings spiked into the red, Derek opened a channel to the HSS Unity. "This is Commander Forrester," he began, his voice steady despite the enormity of the moment. "The weapon will be neutralized shortly. It's been an honor serving with you all. I only hope dash." A hand clasped his shoulder, cutting him off mid-sentence. Derek turned, shock evident on his face, as he saw Captain Lyra Vex standing beside him. "You're not doing this alone," she said firmly, her eyes meeting his with unwavering tenacity. Together, they completed the overload sequence, the core's pulsing growing more erratic with each passing second. As warning klaxons blared around them, Lyra grabbed Derek's arm. "Come on," she shouted over the din. "We're not done yet." She led him through a maze of corridors, the stronghold crumbling around them. Just as the structure began to tear itself apart, they reached a small, hidden hangar. "Get in," Lyra yelled, pushing Derek towards a sleek escape pod. They launched just as the weapon's core detonated, the shockwave buffeting their small craft as they hurtled away from the doomed stronghold. Derek's last glimpse through the viewport was of a blinding flash that consumed the Purity Front's fortress, leaving only debris in its wake. As the light faded and the escape pod system stabilized, Derek turned to Lyra, 1,000 questions on his lips. But before he could speak, the pod's communications array crackled to life. "This is the HSS Unity." Admiral Ven's voice came through, tense with awe-inspiring emotion. "We're detecting a distress beacon. Commander Forrester, Captain Vex, do you copy?" Derek exchanged a look with Lyra, both of them battered, exhausted, but undeniably alive. He reached for the comm panel, his hand shaking slightly as the adrenaline began to ebb. "Unity, this is Forrester," he replied, his voice hoarse. "We're here. We made it." As rescue ships converged on their position, Derek leaned back in his seat, the full weight of their victory beginning to sink in. The Purity Front's weapon was destroyed, their leadership captured or eliminated. Yet he knew that the real work, the work of building lasting peace between humans and Trill, was only just beginning.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.